Chapter 830. He only woke up when he felt someone sizing him up. The moment he opened his eyes, he met her slightly moving gaze. Seeing that she was looking at him, he looked back at her without moving. When their eyes met, something seemed to flash across Fengjio's heart. The familiar feeling and unbelievable thought stunned her. She stared at him for a long time, then moved her lips and called out, "Uncle." The little fellow's eyes moved slightly, but he did not respond. He continued to look at her with his pitch-black eyes. "Xinyuan Mose?" She called out again, her gaze also fixed on his eyes, not missing a trace of his expression. The child moved his mouth as if he was about to say something, but he heard the sound of him talking to himself. He swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. It shouldn't be possible. It's one thing to turn old, but how can he turn into a little kid? She muttered, suppressing the strange feeling in her heart and shaking off the strange thought. She turned over and sat up, quickly putting on her clothes and washing up in the next room. Seeing that she had woken up, he reclined on the bed lazily with one hand supporting his head, exuding an aura that did not belong to a child. A smile flashed across his pitch-black eyes, but Fengjio did not see it. After about an hour, both of them were done washing up. Fengjio went to the main peak to bid farewell to the dean and the rest, then returned to the cave abode and said to the two beasts, "Lao Bai will stay behind and guard the cave abode with Xiaohei. Tunyan will go out with us." "Master, why should Tunyan go out with you? I want to go out too." Lao Bai kicked his hooves and snorted, looking dissatisfied. "What other reason can there be? You can't even control your own mouth. How can I let you follow me?" Fengjio glanced at him. "Moreover, I plan to let Tunyan watch the son of King of Hell. I don't feel at ease leaving it to you." "Master," he wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Fengjio with a wave of his hand. "All right, we're only going back for a few months. We'll have to come back. If you want to go back with us, I'll leave you at home. Then I'll wait here for your return. Master, I don't want to go back to the Phoenix Dynasty." As it spoke, it was afraid that its master would really take it back and leave it behind. Therefore, it took a few steps back and directly lay on the ground. However, Fengjio rubbed his chin as if he just remembered something. "Why don't you come along? When the time comes, I'll send you to Xiao Bai's place. Last time, I heard that Lung Shuang and Lung Hua also came over. It's a good opportunity to go and take a look." "Really? I'll go. It stood up excitedly and bent down in front of Fengjio and the son of the King of Hell. Come up. I'll take you faster. The path here is very winding. You and Tunyan go to the entrance of the courtyard and wait there. I'll bring this little thing over on the flying feather." "Yes," the two beasts replied. After the two beasts left, she looked at the little fellow who had been silent all this while and asked, "Have you always been so boring? Aren't you happy to hear that I'm taking you out to play?" The son of the King of Hell twitched the corner of his mouth and looked away. "All right." She shook her head helplessly and tossed the flying feather to him. Then she brought him onto the flying feather and all the way to the entrance of the courtyard. When they arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, she dismounted from the flying feather and was about to jump onto Lao Bai's back with the son of the King of Hell when she saw a figure walking out. She did not want to pay attention to it, but who knew that after she and the little fellow got on the horse, he actually blocked the way in front of the horse. Chapter 831. Nie Tang stood in front of the horse and looked at Fengjio, who was sitting on the horse. When his gaze swept past the little boy's face, his expression changed slightly. "What does it have to do with you?" Fengjio looked at him and said coldly, "Get out of my way. Where are you going?" "I'll send you there," he said, his voice stiff. "Thank you, but there's no need to trouble you." As soon as she finished speaking, she pulled the reins, squeezed the horse's belly, and went past him. He watched as the person in front leisurely rode away on his horse. He stood there without moving and quietly watched until the figure disappeared from his sight. Only then did he withdraw his gaze. "Master, do you want us to take her back?" The man in black who suddenly appeared came to his side. As soon as he spoke, Nietin glanced at him. The man in black was shocked. He quickly lowered his head and retreated, not daring to look him in the eye. As he retreated, he caught a glimpse of him riding on his sword and following Fengjio from afar. Seeing this, he was slightly startled, but he could only follow. On the main peak of the academy, a white figure watched from afar as the red figure rode away on the white horse. As for Ouyang Xiao, he hadn't even been able to touch the corner of Feng Jiu's robe before he was defeated, and he even had to acknowledge Feng Jiu as his master. This made the 10 of them very angry, and also stimulated Ouyang Xiao's desire to practice cultivation. He had originally planned to go back, but the crushing defeat caused him to bury his heart in cultivation, and he decided not to go back. What do you think he's doing? He's been following us all the way. Lao Bai walked with his hooves and looked back at Nie Tung, who was following them from afar. He was very puzzled. It was difficult to understand the thoughts of humans. As the crown prince of Qingtang, Nie Tung wanted to forcefully take his master and marry her as his concubine. That scene was bloody. Who would have thought that he was following his master like a ghost now? What was he trying to do? Go on your way, don't worry about anything else. As Feng Jiu spoke, he reached out and took out a fruit from the space. He passed it to the son of the king of hell beside him and said, "This is for you." The little fellow closed his eyes and leaned into her arms. He didn't even look at her and said, "I'm not eating. You little brat, you're quite picky." She didn't mind. If he didn't eat, she would eat. However, she saw that the little fellow in her arms was not fixed in time. He was either turning his head, moving his body, or adjusting his sitting position. "What's wrong? Are you uncomfortable sitting there?" she asked as she ate the fruit, holding his waist with one hand to prevent him from falling off the horse. "Why are you flirting everywhere?" He suddenly opened his eyes and asked. His delicate little face was filled with unconcealable distress. "Ah." Feng Jiu was stunned. "Womanizing? I don't." She didn't have the time for that. "No. Then why did this guy follow them? And what's up with that gigolo? The way he looks at you doesn't seem right." He was like a jealous husband who had knocked over a jar of vinegar, refusing to let go. It would be fine if he looked like an adult, but he looked so small. She couldn't help but laugh when she heard his words and looked at his expression. "You're quite a busybody. Tell me, are you really only 3 or 4 years old?" Her eyes were filled with suspicion. She felt that even if a 3 or 4-year-old child was more intelligent, it was impossible for him to be so intelligent. Those people are an eyesore. Chapter 832. Just ignore them. As a person, you have to be open-minded. For those who are an eyesore, let's just treat them as air. That way, we won't make things difficult for ourselves. She chuckled and rubbed his head, pressing him into her embrace. "All right, be good. Don't throw a tantrum. I'll buy you good food when we get to the city." Listening to her coaxing him like a child, he felt a sense of novelty and sweetness. His originally tense little face relaxed, and he quietly leaned into her embrace after responding with an When they entered the city, she even tied a cloth around Lao Bai's mouth to prevent him from causing trouble. When they arrived in the city, she made him slow down and walked all the way to the black market. When they arrived at the entrance of the black market, she handed Lao Bai over to the black market staff and entered with the king of Hell's son. Tunyan followed beside them. Hearing Feng Jiu's arrival, the president of the black market hurriedly came out to welcome her and personally invited her in. "Ninth young master, I've sorted out the information you asked for. Take a look. It's all here." After dismissing everyone, the president took out a stack of information and handed it to her. "According to the information you gave me, I used a lot of connections to gather this information. Because it's a noble family from a first-class strong country, the black market also had to go through a lot of inquiries to obtain this information. Sorry to trouble you." She nodded and smiled. Then, she opened the information and read it. The president beside her also spoke. "The Shangwan family is an aristocratic family that specializes in alchemy. Among them, Shangwan Wanru has the most outstanding talent in alchemy. However, Shangwan Wanru lives in seclusion in the Shangwan family. It can be said that some of the children in the Shangwan family have never seen someone like her." He paused and said, "We've asked around. From the information, we're guessing that Shangwan Wanru might be imprisoned." Hearing his words and looking at the information, Feng Jiu's expression darkened. Most of the information recorded on the Shangwan family's foundation, but there were only a few words about his mother, Shangwan Wanru. It was clear that if the people from the black market were not investigating, this information would not have been known by outsiders. Shangguan Wanru has never married. Some people say that the Shangguan family is reluctant to marry off the daughter of a high-level alchemist and wants her to be used by the family. As far as we know, many people have come to the Shangguan family to ask for Shangguan Wanru's hand in marriage, but they were all rejected by the Shangguan family. Because she rarely appears in front of people, coupled with the Shangguan family's deliberate actions, people gradually forgot about Shangguan Wanru. Feng Jiu put away the information and said to the black market's president, "Other than the information, I also have a few bottles of potions and a pill for you to auction off." "Oh, I wonder what kind of medicine it is. What kind of pill?" His eyes lit up. The ghost doctor's items were always extraordinary. He knew that she was learning alchemy. Could it be that she could produce pills in a short year? She took out 3 bottles of potions and placed them on the table. Then she took out another bottle and said, "The potions are for advancement. 2 of them can help Golden Core practitioners break through, while the other bottle is only suitable for nascent soul practitioners. As for this bottle, there's only 1 pill in it. It's a newly refined beauty pill." Chapter 833. The black market master was amazed, especially about the face-nourishing pill. He promised, "Ninth young master, don't worry. I will sell this face-nourishing pill for a sky-high price. I will spread the news first. With the name of the ghost doctor, with such a good item, it might even attract some aristocratic families from high-ranking countries." "Okay." She nodded and handed the pill to him. "After you sell it, I'll come back next year to settle the accounts with you." "Yes, I'll settle everything by then. It'll be as simple as it can be," he said with a smile. He knew that she did not like trouble, so he asked, "Ninth young master, since you've left the academy, do you want to stay in the city for a few days? I can arrange a place for you to stay." "No need, we'll walk around." She shook her head and left with the son of the king of hell after settling the matter. The chubby Tunyon followed behind them. She brought the son of the king of hell to a restaurant for a meal and bought many pastries and fruits for the journey. Finally, she rode on Lao Bai and headed to the next place. 2 days later, Feng Jiu shook off Nyek Tung, who had been following them, and brought the son of the king of hell to an inn. Not long after, Du Fan and Bai Xiao came to the inn and saw her by the window on the 2nd floor. "Master." After the 2 bowed, their eyes naturally fell on the son of the king of hell, who was wearing a small black robe and had a delicate face. They looked at him curiously. Both of them did not expect that she would bring a child with her. Moreover, where did this child come from? "I'll take a look at the place you chose this time. Let's go. Lead the way." She held the son of the king of hell's hand and went downstairs. She said to Bai Xiao, "Lao Bai is in the stables at the back. Go and bring him out." Bai Xiao was delighted when she heard this. "Okay, I'll go and take a look." Because he was worried that she would really kick him out, he had been training hard for the past few months. His hard work paid off. After a few months of hard work, he managed to reach the 4th level of his family's beast taming technique. Now he could control all spiritual beasts below the 9th level. Du Fan led Feng Jiu away while Bai Xiao went to the back to get Lao Bai. He had not seen his old friend for a long time and was extremely excited to see him again. "Old Bai, I heard that you can speak. I haven't seen you for so long, but you've become much thinner than before. However, I've heard about you from the young master. You've done well." He patted its head and let it out while it shook its tail excitedly. "Let's go back to the top of the mountain. Master said that in order to prevent you from always causing trouble, we can't untie the rope in your mouth until we reach the place." As he spoke, he pulled it out. They flew directly after they left the city. Seeing this, Bai Xiao flipped over and rode on Lao Bai's back. "Lao Bai, let's catch up with them. Let's go." He shook the rope and clamped his legs together. The man and the horse dashed out of the city, stirring up dust along the mountain path. After 2 hours, they arrived at a manor. Du Fan said to Feng Jiu, "Master, we've bought this place. We've set up a formation around it and even set up a restriction in the air. However, my ability is limited, so the restriction in the air is not high enough." Feng Jiu led the son of the king of hell through the formation and came inside. He nodded when he saw the scenery inside. This place is not bad. I'll set up the restriction in the air later. As he spoke, he heard a joyful voice. Chapter 834. Lung Shuang and Lung Hua quickly ran over. They had not seen her for a long time and were very happy to see her. Their faces were full of joy. Seeing the two of them, Fengjiu glanced at them and nodded. Lung Shuang's cultivation has improved, and Lung Hua's body seems to be in good shape. I wonder how your Tai Chi practice has been? Master, my Tai Chi has improved a lot, and I practice it every day. If you don't believe me, you could try me. Lung Hua said with a smile, and his gaze fell on the son of the king of hell. Who is this child? He's so handsome, but why does he look so familiar? The son of the king of hell glanced at him and looked away indifferently, ignoring him. He said he's the son of the king of hell, and he's been sticking to me all day. He said he's the younger brother of the Yama Lord. She glanced at the little fellow beside her and saw that he was not afraid of strangers. His delicate little face was still expressionless, as if nothing could arouse his curiosity and interest. The son of the king of hell? Lung Hua was stunned for a moment, and then smiled. How about I show you around? Don't treat me like a child. Also, remove the word little. The son of the king of hell is not someone you can call. A certain someone said coldly. However, his childish voice and his stern little face did not have the effect of warning her at all. On the contrary, Feng Jiu could not help but reach out to pinch his cheeks when she saw his expression. His ears turned red when she pinched his face in front of so many people. He glared at her in embarrassment. Don't pinch me. So many people are watching. Ha 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 ha. Feng Jiu could not help but laugh out loud. Seeing that the little arrogant look was very cute, she reached out to carry the little person and said with a mischievous smile, Not only do I want to pinch your face, I want to kiss you. What should I do? As she spoke, she kissed him on the cheek, not giving him any time to react. The son of the king of hell was stunned. The redness on his ears spread to his face and neck. He stared blankly at Feng Jiu, as if he did not expect her to kiss him in front of so many people. He could not react in time. It wasn't until everyone laughed that he came back to his senses. However, he wasn't angry. Instead, he crossed his arms and snorted coldly. Kiss me then. You'll have to pay me back sooner or later anyway, he said meaningfully. This woman, he didn't know she was so bold, even daring to mess around in front of others. Sure enough, she was lustful. Her previous seriousness was all an act. She must have wanted him for a long time. He should have given her this chance in the past. Keep pretending. Feng Jiu laughed and was about to give him to Lung Hua, but the little guy wrapped his arms tightly around her neck and said, I won't let anyone touch me. Feng Jiu was taken aback when he heard that. He smiled and said, What? Do you still have mysophobia? Instead of learning from the good, you're learning from your brother's bad habit. The son of the king of hell turned his face away and leaned on her shoulder without saying a word. Master, the courtyard is ready. Let's go in and rest first. Lung Hua said, seeing that the child did not let anyone carry him. He could only follow beside. Okay, let's go in first. She responded and walked in with them. As she looked at the scenery in the manor, she asked, Du Fan, how did you find this place? Chapter 835. Feng Jiu nodded and chatted as they walked. When they arrived inside, he asked, Did Luo Yu and the others go on a mission? Why don't I see them? Xiang Hua took them on a mission and went out. They'll probably be back in 2 days, Du Fan said. After they sat down in the hall, Lung Shuang served them tea. After their Tianyuan palace was reorganized, there weren't many people. Although there were former people who wanted to follow them, they all felt that they couldn't accept them after an investigation. Therefore, there weren't many people here, only the few of them and the 8 Phoenix Guards. Although there weren't many people, each of them was worth 10 people. Xiang Hua took them on missions and made a name for themselves. In just a few months, whether it was assassination or other missions, they did well. Now, their orders were already scheduled until June next year. Therefore, they also felt that they could have people who wanted to join the Tianyuan Palace, but they couldn't just let anyone join. Did you personally send the medicinal pills I asked you to send to the 100 Years Mountain? She took a sip of tea and asked again. Yes, I personally handed the medicinal pills to Miss Wanyan. She was very happy when she received the medicinal pills and even sent a box of gifts over. I originally wanted to send a letter to inform Master, but I thought that Master would also be here today, so I didn't say anything. Yes, she nodded. Xianghua is in charge of external affairs, and you're in charge of internal affairs. He's really good. As she spoke, she looked at him, took out a medicine bottle, and handed it to him. This is a foundation-building pill. You've stayed at the peak of great spiritual master for a long time, so it's time to advance. When Du Fan heard this, his eyes were filled with surprise. Thank you, Master. Do your job well, and you won't be short of benefits in the future, she said with a smile. Yes, this subordinate will definitely not disappoint Master's expectations. He held the pill bottle in his hand, his heart filled with excitement. A foundation establishment pill. This was a priceless item. Back then, Xianghua was betrayed for a foundation establishment pill, but when it came to his master, he was casually given it to him. He knew that following his master was the best choice he had ever made. Young master, we're back too. Bai Zhao's voice came from outside. Not long after, he strode in. Upon seeing Bai Zhao, Feng Jiu said, "It's good that you're back. I want to see your beast-taming skills. If they don't satisfy me, you know what to do." "Yes, young master, don't worry. I've been practicing the art of taming beasts for the past few months. In addition to my own exploration, I can handle any spirit beast below the 9th level." His words were filled with confidence. He was indeed in high spirits compared to a few months ago. "Yes, master." Du Fan said, Bai Zhao's beasts have indeed improved rapidly. Every time Xianghua and Luo you go out on a mission, they'll bring back a spirit beast for him. There are even ferocious beasts that are kept in the forest behind us. He can even tame them. She nodded and smiled. "Let's go. Since we're free now, I'll go and see how you tame your beasts." She gestured and got up. She was really curious about beasts. After all, as far as she knew, there were more beast tamers than beast tamers. Only some ancient families had the beast taming art. This was also the reason why she wanted to recruit Bai Zhao after learning from him that he came from a family of beast-taming arts. Okay. Bai Zhao nodded confidently and went to the forest behind her. Chapter 836. Feng Jiu and the rest did not go near the forest at the back of the mountain. They watched as Bai Zhao walked into the forest and stopped about 100 meters away. She then took out something, and the sound of a musical instrument could be heard. The voice slowly spread out with Bai Zhao as the center. When the voice spread out, there was a faint flow of air that was visible to the naked eye. It was like ripples in the water, spreading out in circles. They did not feel anything when they heard it, but Tun Yun, who was lying on the grass beside them, straightened up when it heard the sound and looked at Bai Zhao. Noticing Tun Yun's strange behavior, Feng Jiu's eyes flickered, and his gaze fell on the front. Within a few breaths, more than 20 spirit beasts and ferocious beasts ran out from the forest. These spirit beasts and ferocious beasts seemed to have lost their drive and bloodthirsty nature. They came over ferociously and circled around Bai Zhao, growling softly. One of the ferocious beasts even lowered its body to let Bai Zhao sit on it. Bai Zhao rode the ferocious tiger to Feng Jiu while blowing the beast-taming art. She removed the thing from her lips and looked at Feng Jiu with a smile. "Young master, I can tame beasts below the 9th level, but I have to cultivate my family's beast-taming technique to the 6th level for beasts above the 9th level." Feng Jiu nodded as he looked at the ferocious tiger that did not have a contract and was obediently serving as his mount. "Not bad. You've improved very quickly. With this, it's okay even if you can't fight." Her gaze swept across the beasts, but she was thinking in her mind. Bai Zhao's beast-taming technique could be equivalent to an army once she cultivates it. If it were a group battle, this beast would be of great help. The son of the king of hell, who was standing beside Feng Jiu, also looked at Bai Zhao for a while before moving his gaze away. "How many people in your family know how to tame beasts now?" Feng Jiu asked. "My grandfather knows how to tame beasts, and so does my father. However, my father's golden elixir was injured, so he can no longer cultivate our family's beast-taming mantra. Moreover, he can't play the beast-taming song, so everyone in the family knows how to tame beasts. Only my grandfather and I know how to tame beasts. Speaking of this, he was a little excited. If it was not for the pressure that the young master gave him, he did not know that he could cultivate his beast-taming mantra to the 4th level. He was thinking that if he could get a bottle of that medicine for his grandfather, perhaps his grandfather's beast-taming mantra could also be improved. However, he also knew that the young master would not take out the medicine if it wasn't for his own people. Every bottle of his medicine was a treasure that people would fight over outside. Control. However, this time, before Bai Xiao could say anything, the son of the king of hell, who was standing beside Fengjiu, spoke up. Taming beasts is controlled by sound, but those who have successfully cultivated it only need sound to tame beasts. They don't need the assistance of musical instruments. People like him should be at the lowest level of the beast-taming mantra, so they need musical instruments to control them. Hearing this, Fengjiu looked at him in surprise. You know. Then he thought for a while and nodded. That's true. What doesn't the 8 great empires have? They should also have beast-taming aristocratic families, right? Chapter 837. Hearing this, everyone's eyes fell on him. The 8 great empires? The beast trainer sect? What kind of existence was that? These thoughts surfaced in everyone's mind. They were very curious about the 8 great empires that they had never been to before. However, they also knew that they would not be able to go to such a place without sufficient strength. They knew very well that if their master went there in the future, they might not be able to go there as well. Without sufficient strength, they would not be able to survive in such a place. After staying in the manor for a few days, Fengjiu set up a new airband and strengthened the protection of the array around the manor. Seeing that Luo Yu and the rest had not returned, he left Lao Bai behind and only brought Lung Shuang and Lung Hua, the son of the king of hell, and Tunyan out of the manor. They only returned to the Phoenix dynasty when the new year was approaching. In the palace, Feng Xiao. Did little Feng say when she's coming back? Old Master Feng came to the palace with his hands behind his back. Feng Xiao, who was busy with work, looked up. Seeing that it was the old master, he put down his work and stood up with a smile. Father, don't worry. Xiao Jiu should be back for the new year. There are still 2 days before the first day of the new year, so it should be within these 2 days. Send a few people to wait at the city gate. If they see her coming back, they can inform me. I don't have to keep waiting like this. The old master paced back and forth as he said, I wonder how long she'll be staying this time? She's been away for a year. I wonder if she's lost weight. Seeing this, Feng Xiao smiled and said, Father, don't worry about Xiao Jiu. You should take care of Mother. She's about to give birth, so don't forget to leave her side. Thinking that he would have a younger brother or sister soon, and that the younger brother or sister would be more than 10 years older than his daughter, he had mixed feelings. He was emotional and happy at the same time. He did not expect that he would have a younger sister-in-law after living for so long. This feeling was really novel. It's okay. She has calculated. She should be giving birth after the new year. He waved his hand and said, What's more, we've already prepared the midwife and everything. It's foolproof. I wonder if they told Xiao Jiu the good news. Does she have an aunt or uncle now? Feng Xiao laughed. The old man also smiled awkwardly. His face was a little hot. She was already so old, yet she still wanted to have a child. Speaking of which, her shamelessness was a little. Then I'll go back first. Remember to tell me when little Feng comes back. As he spoke, he hurriedly turned and walked out. When Feng Xiao saw this, he shook his head and smiled. He walked out with his hands behind his back. Just as he was about to call the Phoenix Guard to wait outside the palace gates, he saw a Phoenix Guard rushing over. Master, eldest miss, and the others have returned. The middle-aged Phoenix Guard smiled happily and said, They are already at the entrance of the palace. I saw them from afar and came in to report. Hearing this, Feng Xiao was overjoyed. Good. It's good that they're back. As he spoke, he strode out. At the entrance of the palace, Feng Jiu and the others walked in together. She, who was walking in front, saw her father striding out to welcome them from afar. When she saw him, she could not help but reveal a gentle smile on her face. Her heart also softened. Chapter 838. Daddy. She ran over and threw herself into his arms. Daddy, did you miss me? Feng Xiao caught his daughter, who was throwing herself at him. Even a tough man's heart was unbelievably soft at this moment. He gently patted the head of his daughter in his arms and said with a smile, "Yes, ever since you left home, I've been thinking about when you'll come back. I've been looking forward to it. Finally, you're home. Let's go. Daddy will get someone to cook your favorite dishes to welcome you back." Behind them, the son of the king of hell walked over slowly with a straight face. He looked at the father and daughter who were hugging each other. Although they were father and daughter, he still felt that they were an eyesore. However, he did not say anything. He was just unhappy and his face was dark. Who is this child? Why does he look like? Feng Xiao was about to say that he looked like the king of hell when he saw the child walk forward and tug at the corner of his daughter's clothes. What's wrong? Feng Jiu looked down and asked. The son of the king of hell stretched out his hands. He did not say anything, but his meaning was obvious. He wanted her to carry him away. Seeing this, Feng Jiu smiled and said, "Daddy, he said that he's the younger brother of the Yama Lord. His name is the son of the king of hell, and he's been following me recently." As soon as she finished speaking, she looked at the child who stretched out his hands and asked her to carry him. She smiled and said, "You want me to carry you? Sure, we'll talk about it after you catch up with me." A burst of laughter rang out, and a flash of red clothes flashed past. The person who was originally standing in front of her had already rushed forward and headed towards the palace. Seeing his daughter running towards the palace, Feng Xiao shook his head and smiled at the little fellow. Come, come, I'll carry you." Just as he stretched out his hand, he saw the child widen his eyes. The small figure rushed forward like the wind and chased after his daughter. This speed, he was a little speechless. This child was only 3 or 4 years old, right? How could he have such speed? Monarch, Lung Shuang and Lung Hua bowed. "Oh, why are only the two of you coming back? The Feng Wei and the others didn't come back?" He was a little surprised. Not only did the Feng Wei not come back, but Lao Bai also didn't come back. They had other things to do, so Master let them stay there. Because Lao Bai can already speak, Master was worried that it would cause trouble once it spoke, so he also left it there and didn't bring it back. Old Bai can speak human language? It has become a divine beast? Lung Hua smiled and said, "No, but I heard that she said it after eating a medicinal pill refined by Master." "I see. All right then, you guys go in as well. It's rare for you to come back, so let's have a good rest." He smiled and went inside with the two of them. In the palace, the old man who heard that Fengjiu had returned came to the front. Before he reached the front of the palace, he met Fengjiu halfway. Seeing his granddaughter in a dazzling red dress, he couldn't help but reveal a loving smile. "Little Feng, you're finally back." "Grandpa," Fengjiu called out. He looked at his middle-aged grandfather and saw that his face was ruddy and healthy. He knew that his grandfather was in good health. That was true. He should be fine now. In the past, her grandfather had intermittent amnesia, but she had already cured it. Now, he was a martial emperor and could be considered the #1 expert in this 9th-tier country. With a beauty by his side, he was naturally happy and his complexion was excellent. Chapter 839. It's a new year. How can I not come back? Moreover, I heard from Lung Shuang that grandmother is pregnant. Of course, I have to come back. She smiled and held his hand. "Grandpa, I brought you a New Year's gift." Good. I knew you were such a considerate girl." He nodded happily and patted her hand that was holding his. "Have you forgotten about your father after seeing your grandfather? Why didn't I hear that you brought me a gift?" Feng Zhao's voice came from behind. Although he was serious, he could not hide his smile. Both. She laughed and looked back. The little boy was standing beside her father and looking at her. She smiled and said, "The King of Hell's son has one too." "The King of Hell's son? Who is this child?" The old master's gaze fell on the King of Hell's son's shrunken face that looked exactly like Xinyuan Mo's. His eyes narrowed. Is Mohan married? Even his child is so big. His face darkened. Seeing such a child, he instinctively thought that Ling Mohan might be married. Otherwise, where did this child who looked exactly like him come from? Grandpa, I'm his younger brother, not his son. He hasn't married her yet. How can he have a son? The little boy bowed to old Master Feng like a little adult. As he spoke, his gaze fell on Fengjiu. Hearing this, the old master's face softened. Younger brother? It's good that you're not his son. If he secretly married someone else, don't expect me to marry my granddaughter to him. Don't worry, Grandpa. It won't happen, the young voice assured. Hearing this, everyone had different thoughts. They could not help but look at him again. However, they saw his small body standing upright with a serious expression. Under the low-key but luxurious little black robe, no one could find any fault with him. He was so elegant and noble that it made people admire him. Come, Grandpa will carry you. He bent down and reached out to carry him. Unexpectedly, the little boy took a step back and shook his head. He said with a serious face, I don't need anyone to carry me. Hearing this, other than the old master, the others were slightly stunned. Then, they could not help but laugh. He did not need anyone to carry him. Not that he did not need anyone to carry him. The group of people walked and chatted as they walked towards the old master's palace. When they arrived at the palace, they finally saw Su Shi, who was pregnant and full of motherly love. Grandmother! Feng Nine stepped forward with a smile and bowed. Her smiling eyes fell on her belly. Grandmother, are you going to give birth soon? Feng girl came back. Su Shi smiled as she held her hand and sat down. She smiled and said, she should be giving birth after the new year. Then I'll stay until grandmother gives birth to little uncle, she said with a smile. If you're not in a hurry to go to the academy, you can stay at home for a few more days. Your grandfather often talks about you. He said that you've been away for a year. He's never been away from home for so long. He's always worried that you don't have enough to eat and get bullied outside. Hearing this, she laughed. I've always been the bully. Who can bully me? This child is so good looking. He should be 3 or 4 years old, right? She looked at the son of the king of hell who was standing quietly at the side. As she was about to become a mother, she was especially fond of children. Chapter 840. Thank you. He stepped forward and took the fruit. After thanking her, he stood beside Fengjiu again. Seeing this, she could not help but laugh. This child is so obedient. He's the little king of hell, the younger brother of a friend of mine. He asked me to take care of him recently. As she spoke, she reached out and pulled the little fellow into her arms. The arrogant little fellow's face was awkward. His ears were red, but he could not hide his joy. Everyone looked at him with smiles on their faces. They felt that this child was really strange. He seemed to be really clingy to Fengjiu. He was happy with Fengjiu's intimate actions, but he was also a little awkward. Everyone chatted for a while. As Fengjiu had not returned for a long time, she stayed in the palace that night. After the reunion dinner on New Year's Eve, she took out all the gifts and gave them to everyone. Finally, she gave her grandfather a pill. Grandfather, I specially prepared this for you. It took me a long time to refine it. She passed the bottle containing the pill to him and said, Grandfather, you can take it here. Let me see the effect. You little girl, you gave your father and grandmother good things, but you only gave me this pill? Aren't you too stingy? He pretended to be angry as he spoke, but the corners of his lips could not help but curl up. He took the bottle and asked, What kind of pill is this? Grandfather, this is good stuff. Because the herbs are hard to find, I only refined this one. Even my father doesn't have it. I think it's a supplement pill. Feng Xiao said with a smile. She looked at the pill that the old man poured out and emitted a fragrance. Or maybe it's an advanced one, he guessed. Fengjiu shook her head and looked at her grandfather mysteriously. You'll know after you take it. Seeing this, the old man agreed and took the pill in front of everyone. As soon as the pill entered his mouth, he felt a strong medicinal fragrance spread in his mouth. A stream of spiritual energy flowed into his body along with the medicinal fragrance, turning into countless streams that nourished his body. The changes in his body could not be seen by outsiders, but he could feel a strange feeling spreading through his body. As the effects of the medicine spread, his appearance also changed. He originally looked like a middle-aged man, but at this moment his appearance was changing bit by bit. He was recovering his youth at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not only was his appearance recovering, but even his figure was changing. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, in less than half an incense stick's time, the middle-aged man in his 40s had turned into a young man in his 20s. This is... Feng Xiao looked at his father, who had become younger than him, in shock and astonishment. For a moment, he didn't know how to react. He only knew that his father had really returned to his youthful appearance. His appearance was unprecedentedly handsome. It was also the first time that Leng Shuang and Leng Hua saw such a miraculous pill. Even the Phoenix guards at the side were seeing such a miraculous pill for the first time. All of them had been through a lot, but when they saw this scene, their hearts were still full of shock. When the son of the king of hell saw this scene, his eyes flashed. He was not surprised that Feng Jiu could refine such a pill. In his opinion, she was so outstanding in everything. A mere face-establishing pill was not difficult for her. Chapter 841. That was his face when she first met him. Since then, his face had always been imprinted in her mind. Even after so many years had passed, she had never forgotten it. Today, she actually saw this familiar face again. It was as if she was looking at him again. Time had returned to the past. Old master. Oh no, he now looked to be in his 20s, just like Feng Jiu's older brother. Calling him old master was really awkward. Little Feng, is this the pill you said Gong refined before? He looked at Feng Jiu and then looked at his youthful appearance. He could not hide the joy in his eyes. Yes, this is the face-establishing pill. I only refined one pill and brought it back especially for grandfather as a New Year's gift. She then smiled and said, Grandfather, are you satisfied with my gift? Ha, satisfied, extremely satisfied. He laughed and looked at Su Shi beside him. He held her hand and asked nervously and expectantly, Su Shi, look at me now. Is this good? Good, of course it's good. She smiled and nodded. She said to Feng Jiu, Little Feng, thank you. We're a family. There's no need to thank us. She smiled and said, Tonight is the reunion night. I'll bring the little guy around the city. You guys should rest early. Okay, then you guys be careful. There are many people tonight. Look after the son of King of Hell and don't get lost. They instructed. Yes, I know. She smiled and led Leng Shuang, Leng Hua, and the son of King of Hell out of the palace. Feng Jiu brought them around the city. He bought all the trinkets he saw, regardless of whether the little guy liked them or not. They played until late at night and went to the lake in the west of the city to watch the fireworks. At this time, they did not know that Old Master and Su Shi were planning to keep watch for the new year. However, when she wanted to call her maids to accompany her to the toilet, she accidentally fell down. Oh no! Oh no! The retired empress fell down. The palace maid's panicked voices spread in the palace, one after another. When the old man heard the news, his face turned pale. He quickly walked out and saw Su Shi, who had a pained expression, being lifted up by several people and quickly brought to the palace's bedroom. Su Shi. Seeing her dress stained with blood, his heart turned cold. His hands and legs went soft as he walked inside. When Feng Xiao heard the news, he also rushed over with large strides. However, when he saw this place, the palace maids were hurrying in and out, and several midwives were also hurrying inside. He grabbed a midwife who came out to order hot water and hurriedly asked, What's the situation inside? Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager fell and her amniotic fluid broke. The fetus might be born prematurely. Furthermore, she was shocked by the fall. Her condition isn't too good now, the midwife said as she hurried back in. Hearing this, Feng Xiao frowned. He ordered the phone guards to quickly find his daughter and wait outside. Not long after, he saw his pale father being pushed out by the crowd. Seeing his distraught and self-blaming father, he went forward and said, Father, don't worry. It's okay. It's all my fault. I should have accompanied her. If I had, she wouldn't have fallen. Chapter 842. Seeing this, Feng Xiao comforted him. It's okay, it's okay. The midwife said that it's just a premature birth. Nothing will happen. Moreover, I've already sent people to find Xiao Jiao. Nothing will happen. Don't worry. Hearing this, his heart finally calmed down. However, he still walked outside uneasily, waiting. Hearing the heart-wrenching screams coming from inside, his entire body tensed up and his heart tightened again. As time passed, an hour later, a midwife hurriedly came out with a serious expression to report. Retired Emperor, Your Majesty, the retired Empress is having a difficult birth. She's sitting on the stomach, and the position of the fetus is not right. Moreover, it's very likely that the fetus is carrying a neck ring. If she gives birth, it's possible that difficult birth? Hearing this, the old man felt his vision darken. If it weren't for Feng Xiao supporting him from behind, he would have fallen down. When a woman gave birth, she would exchange her life for another. If she gave birth, it would be the birth of a new life. If she encountered a difficult birth, then it was very likely that either the mother or the child would die. Even more serious cases, one mother and 2 children would die. Aren't you the most experienced midwives? Is there no other way? Quickly go in and think of a way. There's no other way. We have to save both the mother and the child. Feng Xiao said calmly. He helped his father to the side to sit down. Then, he summoned the phone guards and instructed them to send an emergency signal directly if they couldn't find Feng Jiao. They had to ask her to come back immediately. Father, drink some tea to calm down first. Don't mess up the array. Mother is still working hard inside and needs your support. He comforted him as he poured a cup of hot water for him to calm down. He also had lingering fears about the road a woman had to go through to give birth. After all, this was the most uncertain thing. There were many things that could not be predicted. Take this incident, for example. No matter how well they prepared, they did not expect her to fall, let alone that her fetus would not be in the right position. Most of the time, difficult births could only be left to fate because even doctors could not guarantee that the woman could give birth safely and smoothly and save the child and the mother's life. He asked someone to call Xiao Jiao back because he knew that her medical skills were very good. If something unexpected really happened, he hoped that she could save his lord's life. At this time, Feng Jiao and the others outside were still unaware of what happened in the palace. They watched the fireworks explode on the lake and the beautiful fireworks dissipate into the night. They could not help but say, "It's beautiful, but it's a pity that it's only for a moment." The son of the king of hell tilted his head slightly and looked at her deeply. He did not say anything and just stayed by her side quietly. Suddenly, Lung Hua, who was standing behind them, saw a signal in the sky and his expression changed. He quickly walked to Feng Jiao's side and said, "Master, the Phoenix Guards have sent an emergency signal." Hearing this, she was slightly startled. When she turned around, she saw that there were indeed 3 signals in the sky from the direction of the imperial palace. Seeing this, she frowned and stood up. The world has been peaceful recently. Nothing can happen. Why are there suddenly emergency signals? As she thought about it, her expression suddenly changed. Could it be that grandmother is about to give birth? No, I have to go back and take a look. As she spoke, she wanted to take the son of the king of hell with her. However, she heard him say, "Go back and take a look first. I'll follow behind Lung Hua and the others." Chapter 843. At this time, the palace was in a mess. The dangerous atmosphere made everyone tense. Basins of blood were brought out of the palace, and a strong smell of blood filled the air. The old man wanted to go in several times, but he was stopped by Feng Xiao. He was afraid that he would be too agitated and cause trouble if he went in. When the shouts inside gradually weakened, the 2 people's hearts sank, especially the old man. He felt as if he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. It was as if there was a huge rock on his chest, and he couldn't breathe. "Oh no, oh no!" The midwife ran out in a panic, her hands stained with blood. The mother is about to faint, and the child is still missing. Retired Emperor, Monarch, I'm afraid that only one of them can be saved. Hurry up and make a decision. If you're late, I'm afraid that both the mother and the child can't be saved." When the old man heard this, his whole body trembled, and he fell onto the chair. Only one can be saved? When Feng Xiao saw this, his mouth moved, but he didn't say anything. If only one can live, then save the mother. He clenched his hands into fists and tried to calm himself down. At this time, another midwife ran out. The retired empress said that she wants to save the child. No, save the mother. The old man stood up and shouted loudly. He no longer cared about being stopped and went in. "What do you mean, save the mother?" Feng Jiao's voice came at this time. It was like the sound of nature, and Feng Zhao's heart couldn't help but ease a little. He turned around and saw his daughter, who was sitting on the rainbow glass feather, jump down from midair and come to him. "Xiaojiu, your grandmother fell and had a difficult birth. The midwife said that the umbilical cord can wrap around the neck. Now that she's about to faint and the child hasn't been seen, I'm afraid that it's not good." Feng Zhao's voice was heavy, and his heart was heavy. When she came back, she guessed that something had happened to her. She didn't expect that she guessed correctly. She immediately asked, "Where's grandfather?" "He's inside." The midwife said that only one can be saved. "Your grandfather wants to save the mother, and your grandmother wants to save the child. I'll go in and take a look." As she spoke, she walked in. Feng Xiao wanted to stop her. After all, she was still an unmarried woman. He was afraid that it would be inappropriate for her to go in. However, after thinking about it, he did not stop her. Instead, he waited outside. Xiao Jiu had medical skills, so he might have a solution. Feng Jiu entered and frowned. The smell of blood inside was even stronger than outside. How much blood had been lost? When she entered the bedroom, she saw her grandfather holding her grandmother's hand and saying words of encouragement. She walked forward and called out, "Grandfather, let me take a look." Without wasting any time, she first checked her pulse and then touched her stomach to check. "Little Feng, you have to save your grandmother. If you can't give birth to the child, you have to save the adult. It's fine as long as the adult is safe and sound," the old man said, his eyes slightly red. "Grandpa, you go out first, don't worry. He'll be fine." She comforted him as she asked someone to help him out. After he left, Feng Jiu said to Su Shi, who was on the bed, "Grandmother, you want to save the child, right?" "Yes, little Feng. Don't listen to your grandfather. Save the child. This is your grandfather's child. I don't want to lose him." As she spoke, tears flowed down her face. Chapter 844. Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled. "Grandmother, don't worry. Everything will be fine. It's just that your fetus isn't in the right position, and the umbilical cord is wrapped around the child's neck. Even if you want to move it, I'm afraid it'll be too late. But I have an idea. I want to perform a cesarean section for you and help you take the child out." Sushi didn't understand what a cesarean section was. At this time, her mind was muddled, and she was so tired that she couldn't even keep her eyes open. However, she knew that Sushi meant that the child would survive, so she replied, "Okay, as long as the child survives." Hearing her promise, Feng Jiu cut a piece of 1,000-year-old ginseng from a space and put it in her mouth. Then, he chased everyone out. When he heard that Lung Shuang and the others had returned, he asked Lung Shuang to come in and help. Seeing that the midwife and palace maid had been chased out by Feng Jiu, Grandfather Feng and Feng Xiao didn't know what she was going to do. However, they trusted her and didn't ask. They just waited outside anxiously and nervously. "Grandfather." Feng Jiu stood at the door and looked at him. "Little Feng, how is it?" Old Master Feng hurriedly asked. "Grandfather, I want to perform a cesarean section for grandmother. That means I'm going to take the child out of her womb," she said. This operation was very normal in modern times, but it sounded a little shocking here. Hearing this, his face turned pale. Large beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He asked nervously, "W.A. cesarean section? Take the child out of her womb? Then can the adult still live?" "He can live." She smiled and spoke softly. The two simple words that came out of her mouth calmed the old man's heart. "If he can live, then do it. Grandfather believes in you." Even if he hadn't heard of it before, if she said he could live, then he could live. Hearing this, Feng Jiu nodded and told her not to go in until she came out. He then turned around and went back to the room to perform the cesarean section. With the 1,000-year-old ginseng supporting her and replenishing her energy, Su Shi, who was about to faint, slowly regained consciousness. She only felt that Feng Jiu seemed to have made her drink some kind of medicine. Then she laid there, unable to move. Her entire body was numb. Only her consciousness was still clear. Her voice faintly drifted into her ears. She was asking her what to name the child after he was born. What was his nickname? She prefers men or a woman? She couldn't see what she was doing. She only knew that she was busy, but she would still look at her from time to time and smile encouragingly. She didn't know how much time had passed, but in a daze, she seemed to hear the sound of a baby crying. After hearing that sound, she fell into a coma and lost consciousness. In the middle of the night, before midnight, the sound of a baby crying spread through the night. It broke the heavy atmosphere in the palace and brought a trace of life, a trace of joy. Outside, when Grandfather Feng heard the sound of a baby crying, he was stunned. He grabbed Feng Zhao's hand, and his body trembled. She gave birth. She gave birth. She gave birth. As soon as his excited voice fell, he thought of Su Shi. He immediately walked forward to take a look, but before he could walk in, Feng Zhao stopped him. "Father, don't worry. Xiao Jiu said to wait for her to come out. We can't go in." Chapter 845. Hearing the baby's cries, each one louder than the last, the people outside were extremely excited. Inside the room, Feng Jiu handed the baby to Lung Shuang and stitched up the wound. After cleaning the wound, she applied medicine and checked on the unconscious Su Shi. Only then did she let out a sigh of relief. "Give me the baby. Go open the door." After washing her hands, she took the baby and motioned for Lung Shuang to open the door. "Yes," Lung Shuang responded. She walked out of the room and opened the door to let the old master in. The old man quickly walked inside and saw Feng Jiu carrying the baby. He asked, "Little Feng, how is it? Is the baby and the girl safe?" "Yes, don't worry, grandfather. Everything is fine." Feng Jiu responded with a smile and handed the baby to him. "Look, grandmother gave birth to a little uncle for me." The old man took the baby with trembling hands. The newborn baby cried for a while and fell asleep. The baby's skin was dark red and wrinkled. It didn't look good, but the old man's eyes couldn't help but redden. Good, good. He didn't know what to say and could only nod. He choked up and said good. Then he carried the baby to the bedside and saw that she was unconscious. He couldn't help but look at Feng Jiu. "Little Feng, your grandmother, she's fine. She's unconscious because of the medicine. She'll wake up tomorrow morning. However, there's a cesarean section wound on her abdomen. She must be taken care of carefully. Don't tear the wound. I'll go back and tell someone to take care of her carefully." As she spoke, she saw the old man sigh in relief and walked outside. Seeing her father still waiting there, she went up to him. "Father, Xiao Jiu, are the mother and child okay?" Feng Zhao asked with concern. "Yes, they're fine. The umbilical cord is indeed around the neck. If it wasn't for the cesarean section, I would have been worried. However, there's no need to worry now. They're fine. Grandmother will be able to get out of bed after resting for a while. It's good that they're fine." He nodded and asked, "Is it a boy? I heard you say it's a little uncle." "Yes, it's a boy. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl, as long as they're safe." He smiled and asked, "Is there anything you need the servants to do? Just tell me, and I'll explain it to them later. It's just that you have to be careful when taking care of grandmother. After all, she had a cesarean section. Her abdomen was cut open to carry the child out. The wound needs to be taken care of." The son of the king of hell, who was listening to her and Feng Zhao's conversation, did not look too good. It could be said that when he came here and heard about the dangers of childbirth, his expression had not been too good. His entire body had been tense, and his pitch-black eyes flashed. No one knew what he was thinking. After a long while, Feng Jiu, who had settled the matter, entered the room again. After informing her grandfather, She brought the king of Hell's son back to her palace in the harem. However, she saw the little fellow pursing his lips and keeping silent with his head lowered. She did not know what was going on. Thus, she smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Why didn't you say anything along the way? Are you unhappy because I didn't accompany you to watch the fireworks?" "It's not that." As he spoke, he raised his head and glanced at her. His tense little face was filled with unconcealable worry. "It's dangerous to give birth to a child. You'd better not give birth in the future." Chapter 846. Little brat, what do you know? She shook her head and smiled. "You're still young. You don't understand. You don't need to understand this. You'll understand when you grow up." As she spoke, she couldn't help but laugh. She didn't expect to hear such a sentence from him. She really didn't know what was going on in his little head. How could he say such a thing? On the way back, Fengjiu, who had just bathed, fell asleep very early due to her exhaustion from the operation. The child lying beside her, however, opened his eyes after she fell into a deep sleep. He reached out to seal her acupuncture points and got up, taking advantage of the night to sneak out. At the back mountain of the palace, Ren Xiang was pacing back and forth. When he saw the small figure walking over, he immediately went up to greet it. After sizing it up for a while, he stared at the shrunken figure of his master and could not help but laugh out loud. "Ha, master! I heard from Hui Lang that you cured the 1,000-year cold poison, but your strength was greatly reduced due to the loss of your cultivation method. Even your body was suppressed to the age of 3 or 4 due to the loss of your cultivation method. I didn't believe it at first, but looking at you now, you really look exactly the same as when you were young." They were all from the 8 great empires. He couldn't recognize Master when he was 3 or 4, but he could recognize him when he was 5 or 6. It was clearly the same as now. "I say, did the ghost doctor recognize you like this? Did you tell the ghost doctor?" He couldn't help but ask with a smile. She probably wouldn't have thought that he would become a child, right? After all, this wasn't something that happened often. It was too abnormal. "Are you done laughing? If you're done laughing, let's get down to business," he said with a dark face. However, even if this little face was dark, it didn't have any effect. "Yes, yes, yes." He smiled and adjusted his expression, saying, "There's no need to worry about that side for now, but I'm afraid that pretending to be sick won't last long, especially since they've been looking for trouble. The spy they planted inside hasn't been found yet. Based on their methods, Master only has half a year to adjust. However, can you recover your cultivation method in half a year?" He asked worriedly. This was a matter of life and death, especially since the opponent wasn't ordinary. It was fine if Master's cultivation method was still lost, but now that his cultivation was greatly reduced, if they knew, it would really be out of control. Half a year's time is enough. Master's dark eyes flashed with a sharp light. "Let them be arrogant for half a year. After half a year, I'll make them disappear from this world." Hearing this, Ren Xiang's heart relaxed slightly. Master said that he could recover in half a year. Then it should take less than half a year for him to truly recover. This was good. If he really maintained this state for too long, it would be too dangerous for him with his strength greatly reduced. "Master, when you go back in half a year, should I also go back to help? After she goes to the 8 great empires, you can go back. If she has any trouble here, you can help. This monarch will be more at ease. But the ghost doctor doesn't allow anyone to follow her." He said helplessly, "You see, if she had agreed to leave a few people to protect her in the dark, there wouldn't have been so much trouble. To be honest, her temper is quite similar to yours." Chapter 847. Hearing this, Ren Xiang chuckled, his eyes filled with mockery. "Master, I really couldn't tell that you're so good at spoiling women. However, although there are only 9 years left in your 10-year agreement, there are still many outstanding men by the ghost doctor's side. Wasn't there M.O. Chen recently? He's Elder Tianji's disciple." Hearing this, his eyes flashed. "Do you know the reason why he accepted Fengjiu? I'm guessing that it's related to the divination that Elder Tianji calculated. You're talking about the divination of the star of the phoenix appearing and a strange soul entering the world. he asked, his eyes narrowing. That means Feng Jioshi. Amen, it seems like it's her. However, it's fortunate that this news is still unknown to the great clans and powers of the 8 great empires. If they knew, I'm afraid her situation would be even more dangerous. No matter who it was, they wouldn't allow such a person to grow and become a threat to everyone. If they knew that the person in Old Man Tianji's divination was the princess of the Phoenix dynasty, the entire Phoenix dynasty would probably be annihilated by those forces above. Hearing this, he was silent for a long time, then said, "When the time comes, I'll tell her to disguise herself as a man and not expose her female identity. Those people would never think that the Star of the Phoenix would appear in the lowest-ranked 9th-ranked country. For now, she's still safe. Even if she wasn't safe, he would still clear all obstacles for her and eliminate all possible dangers. Go back. If there's nothing important, don't come again. She's very vigilant. Don't let her find out." Hearing this, Ren Xiang smiled. "Master is here, and I'm currently staying in the city. If there's anything, I can take care of her. However, she's quite familiar with me, so even if she sees me here, she won't do anything. At most, she'll think that Master asked me to take care of her." Saying this, he paused for a moment, then said, "It's almost on, so I'll go back. If Master needs me for anything, just send a signal." "Amen," he nodded in response. After watching him leave, he turned around and went back. When he reached the bedroom in the palace and saw the woman sleeping soundly on the bed, he couldn't help but lower his body and planted a kiss on her forehead. Then, he squeezed her side and fell asleep with her in his arms. When Feng Jiu woke up the next morning and looked at the little fellow sleeping beside her, a trace of surprise flashed through her eyes. She slept so soundly last night that she actually slept until dawn? Was she really too tired? Seeing that he was still sleeping, she washed up and went out, intending to visit her grandmother and her newborn uncle. Therefore, she did not know that although the son of the king of hell was sleeping, the cultivation technique in his body was circulating rapidly. "Feng lass, your grandmother is awake. I wanted to send someone over to inform you, but you came." At this moment, Feng's words, Fengjiu's assess, as with her says at this moment is grandmother's assesses, as Feng's fisty hide her. I assess Feng's. Chapter 848. "Grandmother, don't say that. This is what I should do," she said with a smile. Seeing that the child wasn't here, she asked, "Where's little uncle? He was crying just now, so I had the wet nurse take him." The old man said as he called for someone to bring his son back for Fengjiu to take a look. "Princess." The wet nurse came forward with the child. Fengjiu took the child and held him in her arms. The child was so soft that she didn't dare to use too much strength. Perhaps because he had just eaten, the little guy opened his eyes and looked at her. Being teased by her, he began to giggle. He knows how to laugh this early. It looks like little uncle is very smart." She gently laughed as she played with the little baby in her arms. However, the baby was very sleepy and closed his eyes after laughing for a while, ignoring her. "Grandfather, look, he's asleep." She couldn't help but bring him over for them to take a look. That's right. This child cried when he was born last night and cried when he was hungry this morning. The rest of the time, he has been very obedient. The old man treated this child as if he was his own grandson. Hearing this, she smiled and asked, "Then what's little uncle's name?" "Grandfather, have you picked it?" "I've picked it." He looked at Su Shi and said, "The child was born at midnight, so I picked one character for him. He's called Feng Yi." "Uncle Feng Yi?" Feng Jiu softly muttered before smiling. "That's a nice name." She chatted with them for a while before leaving the palace. When she went outside, she bumped into her father. He seemed to be going in to take a look, so she called out to him. "Father, Xiao Jiu, you're here this early?" Seeing his daughter, a smile appeared on his dignified face. I came to see grandmother and little uncle." "Father, do you also want to go in? I think it'll be better if you come later. Grandmother just fell asleep, and little uncle is also asleep." "Oh, so it's like that. Then I'll come back later to take a look." He nodded and said, "Father, shall we take a walk?" She took his hand and walked in the palace. The father and daughter strolled around and chatted until noon. When the meal was set and ready to eat together, Feng Jiu remembered that the little fellow had slept until now and didn't seem to see her. Just as she was about to send someone to wake her up, she saw the little fellow in a little black robe come in. "The little king of hell is here? Come sit down and eat with us." Feng Xiao could not help but smile when he called the son of the king of hell. He bowed to Feng Xiao and responded. After glancing at Feng Jiu, he walked to her side. However, the stool was rather high, and he couldn't sit on it at all. Therefore, just as he was about to climb up, he was picked up by someone. "Have a seat. Here, this is for you." Feng Jiu carried him to sit on the stool and scooped some rice and vegetables for him. He glanced at her and then picked up his chopsticks to eat. Feng Jiu and Feng Xiao chatted as they ate. After the meal, the few of them went out for a walk and drank some tea. Feng Xiao went back to handle some matters, leaving only Feng Jiu and the little king of hell. The two of them looked at each other, staring at each other speechlessly. "Little guy, tell me, why do you like to stick to me so much?" She held her chin with one hand and asked with a smile. Hearing this, he glared at her. "Since when did I stick to you?" Chapter 849. The son of the king of hell glanced at her and said, "He just wanted me to tell you not to fool around while he's not around. Crush those rotten peach blossoms as soon as possible and don't let them stick to you. Also, don't get too close to men." Hearing this, Feng Jiu froze for a moment, then laughed. "Little devil, do you know what rotten peach blossoms are?" He turned his head away and did not speak. "Okay, let me tell you. You can play around in the palace as you wish. You can also leave the palace to play, but you have to be brought by Lung Shuang or Lung Hua. Don't run around by yourself. Be careful of being kidnapped by human traffickers." "What about you? What are you going to do?" He frowned slightly and asked. "In March, there will be an alchemy competition in Sanyi country. I heard that the prizes are quite generous. While I'm at home, I plan to refine a pill and participate." She smiled and said, "I'll return to Feng Manor to refine. Do you want to stay in the palace or return to Feng Manor with me? But I'll say this first. I won't have time to take care of you after I return to Feng Manor. Also, you can't disturb me when I'm refining pills. And I'll go to Feng Manor with you." He said, "Okay, let's go tell grandfather and the others and then return." She held his hand and led him to the palace. In the following days, just as Feng Jiu said, she buried herself in refining pills. However, the son of the king of hell did not disturb her because he was also cultivating. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. This day was the 15th of the first lunar month. After a loud rumbling sound came from Feng Jiu's alchemy room, a rich medicinal fragrance filled the air. When the chief flow dissipated, she took out 3 pills from the alchemy room. 2 of them were brownish-red in color. Regardless of whether it was the pill veins or the spiritual aura, they were all normal pills. They were not level 5 because they were not level 5 pills to begin with. However, the other pill was a reddish-orange color, as if it had mutated. The medicinal fragrance still filled the air, but it was completely different from what was recorded in the pill formula. She used a silver needle to test the pill, only to see that when the silver needle touched the pill, a strange black color appeared. Deadly poison? She was a little astonished. The pills used were clearly the same, so how could this one be deadly poison? Although he was puzzled, he still carefully put the pill away and put it together with some other poisonous pills in the space. According to the recipe in the space, this 5 elements pill has been successfully refined. I wonder if its effects are really as miraculous as described? She held the pill and looked at it, her eyes filled with curiosity. She had found the 5 elements pill recipe in her space. It wasn't left behind by her master, but by the original owner of the space. Following the steps of refining the pill, he didn't expect that he would actually succeed in half a month. In this world, the reason why people can cultivate is because they have spiritual roots. However, other than the younger generation of cultivator clans who have spiritual roots, ordinary people who want to have spiritual roots are 1 in 10,000. However, If this 5 elements pill is really as described in the pill formula, then it really is a pill with unlimited value. She was excited. She immediately put away the pill and walked out of the alchemy room. Seeing Lung Hua arranging the medicinal herbs in the courtyard, she asked, Lung Hua, where's Lung Hua? Hurry up and call him over. Chapter 850. Not long after, Lung Hua followed Lung Shuang into the courtyard. They saw their master pacing back and forth in the courtyard, muttering something. They looked at each other and walked forward. Master, Lung Hua called out. He looked at her and asked, Why are you looking for me? Come, come, come. She pulled him to sit down when she saw him. She took out a pill. Eat this and let me see. Yes. There were no questions, no doubts, no worries or uneasiness. He didn't care what kind of pill it was. He took it and swallowed it, not minding at all that he was the one who tested the pill. However, after taking the pill, within a few breaths, Lung Hua's forehead broke out in large beads of sweat. His entire body tensed up. His hands were tightly clenched, as if he was restraining something. Lung Shuang saw this and looked at him worriedly. However, she didn't say anything. She knew that her master wouldn't harm her brother. Hiss! Finally, he couldn't hold back the tearing pain in his body. He bounced off the stool and rolled back and forth on the ground. Cries of pain came from his mouth. Lung Shuang's heart ached. She wanted to go forward, but was stopped by Fengjiu. One can only rise above others after suffering the hardest. She looked at Lung Hua on the ground and observed his reaction. She watched as he cried out on the ground. She watched as his clothes were soaked with sweat. After about an hour, he felt better. The pain had already caused him to faint. At this time, his body was oozing with a black liquid that smelled a little foul. Take him back to his room. Have someone wash him. When he wakes up, bring him to see me. Fengjiu gestured. Yes. Lung Shuang responded. She looked at her brother lying quietly on the ground and quickly walked forward to help him up. She didn't care that the stench on his body was all over her. Seeing her help him leave, Fengjiu rubbed his chin. He looked at his messy appearance and returned to the courtyard to have someone prepare water for a bath. 2 hours later, after bathing, she had the kitchen cook a few dishes to eat. When she was almost full, she saw Lung Shuang bring Lung Hua, who had woken up and changed his clothes in. Master, the two called out. She looked at him, sizing him up from head to toe, and then said, Tell me, how do you feel after eating the pill? Yes, Lung Hua replied. First, there was a little warmth in my stomach. Then this warmth spread like a ball of fire and spread to every vein in my body. Each vein seemed to be torn apart by this ball of fire and then fused back together. It was so painful that I couldn't breathe. After that, I didn't even know when I fainted. But when I woke up, my whole body felt very strange. It was as if I'd been cleansed by water and my whole body felt very comfortable. Fengjiu nodded. He took out the spirit plate used to test spiritual roots from his space and gestured, Come, I'll test it for you. Hearing this, the siblings were stunned. They stared blankly at her. Master, I don't have spiritual roots, right? I've tested it before, Lung Hua said, because he had tested it before and knew that he couldn't cultivate. His master taught him Tai Chi to strengthen his body and protect himself. Chapter 851. I can cultivate. Lung Hua was stunned. He couldn't believe it. Even Lung Hua couldn't react for a while. He stood there in a daze. Yes, the elixir you ate is called the 5 Elements Elixir. It's a new product that I just refined. It can allow people who don't have spiritual roots to develop spiritual roots after eating it. However, the specific spiritual roots of the 5 elements will depend on your own luck. She smiled and said, I've said that as long as there's a chance, I'll definitely let you step onto the path of cultivation. However, you have to know that the path of cultivation won't be smooth sailing. There are many dangers and difficulties waiting for you. Lung Hua couldn't help but choke up when he heard this. Master, don't worry. I know. As long as I can cultivate, I'm not afraid of dangers and difficulties. Only by cultivating and becoming stronger could he stay by his master's side in the future. Even if his master went to the empire in the future and established the Feng family there, he could still be his master's housekeeper. Lung Shuang came to her senses and knelt down with a plop. She kowtowed heavily. "Thank you, master." Lung Hua also knelt down and cowed out. "Thank you, master. What are you doing? Get up, get up." She gestured for the two of them to get up and said, "You are my people. I said that I won't mistreat the people around me, so there's no need to be like this. Lung Hua, come here. I'll test your spiritual root." She waved her hand and gestured for him to come forward. Yes. Lung Hua was a bit nervous. He walked up to her and placed his hand on the testing spirit disc. When he saw that the spirit disc was of the water attribute, he let out a sigh of relief. It didn't matter what kind of spiritual root it was. As long as it could cultivate, it was fine. It's a single water spiritual root? She was a little surprised and smiled. I didn't expect that a single water spiritual root could be born after taking the 5 elements elixir. The cultivation speed of a single spiritual root is faster than that of a dual spiritual root. Not bad. It seems that you're the only one with a water spiritual root around me. She put away the spirit disc and took out the chi-drawing spiritual art from her space and gave it to him. Immortal cultivation is similar to being a Xian martial artist. As long as you can draw chi into your body, you could be considered a spirit practitioner. Above the spirit practitioners are spiritual masters, then great spiritual masters, foundation building cultivators, golden core cultivators, and nascent soul cultivators. It's very important to stabilize your foundation step by step. Yes, I'll remember that. He accepted it excitedly. An indescribable feeling filled his heart, and he couldn't wait to return to his room to cultivate. Go, cultivate well, and ask me if you don't understand, she said with a smile, indicating that he could go back. All right, then I'll head back first. With that, he quickly returned to his room with the spirit art of drawing energy into his body. That's right. Where's that little fellow? Why didn't I see him? Feng Jiu looked at Lung Shuang and asked. He realized that the little fellow didn't seem to be around. After Master went into seclusion to refine pills, he told us that he also wanted to go into seclusion to cultivate and told us not to disturb him. He also chose the most remote courtyard in the residence as his cultivation spot. In recent days, only Ahua sent him breakfast. Oh, he's cultivating at such a young age? I'll go take a look. As she spoke, she asked the servants to clear the dishes on the table and went to the most remote courtyard in the residence. When she arrived at the courtyard, she saw that the door was tightly shut and the faint sound of water could be heard from inside. She couldn't help but raise her eyebrows and called out, "Little king of hell? Little fellow? Little brat? Is he inside? I'm going in." Chapter 852. Little brat, what the hell are you doing? Feng Jiu walked in with large steps and saw that the ground was covered in water. There was a gurgling sound coming from the tub that was half the height of a person, as if someone was choking on water. She quickly walked forward and saw that little thing had fallen inside with his head down, drinking the bath water. She was so scared that she quickly lifted him up. Cook. He fiercely coughed, and his face turned red, but before he could catch his breath, his butt was slapped by her. Pa, you little brat. You're not even as tall as the tub, yet you didn't ask anyone to help you. If you drown in the tub, I'll see if you'll be embarrassed. Feng Jiu was angry. She didn't care about anything else as she grabbed him under her arm and slapped his bear, but a few times. The heavens knew that when she came in and saw him head first in the water, her heart was so shocked that it almost stopped beating. The height of the bathtub was more than enough to drown a 3 or 4-year-old child, and it was even worse when he was head first in the water. This Yama Lord had left him in her care. If something really happened to him here, how was she going to explain it to him? Was she going to say that she didn't take care of him properly and accidentally drowned? 3 consecutive slaps landed on his butt, not giving him a chance to react. He was completely stunned by the slaps. What are you doing? After he recovered, he began to struggle in anger and shame. This woman, she really dared. What am I doing? Can't you see that I'm teaching you a lesson? She directly grabbed him and walked to the bed in the inner room. After throwing him on the bed, she angrily glared at him with one hand on her waist. "You little brat. Do you know what it means to play with your life? What were you doing just now? What? Don't tell me you were thirsty and want to drink the bathwater." It was fine when she mentioned it, but when she mentioned that he drank his own bathwater, his face became ugly, and he felt a faint sense of nausea. If it wasn't for her shouting outside, how could he have slipped in his nervousness? She still had the nerve to scold him here and hit his butt again. This woman, it really made him want to strangle her to death. "Still staring? You still dare to stare at me? Try staring again." She pulled on her sleeves and stared at him with a threatening gaze. Her meaning was clear. "If you stare again, I'll hit you again." Hearing this and seeing her posture, he was so angry that he laughed, but he didn't stare at her. After all, he wasn't wearing any clothes. Facing her with this little naked body, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Looking at him wrapped in the blanket, she took a deep breath and calmed down the anger in her heart. She said to him, "Put on your clothes. I'll wait for you outside." Then she turned and walked out. She looking at. Indeed, there was nothing to see with his small body. It was precisely because there was nothing to see that he didn't even have the confidence to show off. It was too embarrassing. He simply couldn't face anyone. After calming himself down, he took out a set of clothes and put them on. After tidying himself up, he walked out. Feng-Jie, who was sitting in the yard, stared at the arrogant and bashful little fellow walking out. He couldn't help snorting. Without giving him a chance to refute, he directly said, "I'll help you bathe in the future." Chapter 853. She narrowed her eyes at him. "Even if you can't, you still have to." "I don't agree. Your disagreement is invalid. If something like today happened again, she wouldn't know what to do." He looked at her and knew that she was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Thus, he softened his voice and said, "I'll be more careful next time, so I won't fall. This kind of accident won't happen again, and I can take care of myself." He wasn't a real child. How could he not take care of himself? If it wasn't for her suddenly shouting to come in, he wouldn't have slipped when he was about to step out of the tub and fall back in. Feng-Jie narrowed his eyes. "You don't want me to help you bathe?" He heavily nodded his head, his delicate little face filled with seriousness. Could he let her see him with his small body? The answer was no. "All right then, I'll find someone else to help you bathe." She calmly said this and was not surprised to see his expression change. He gritted his teeth and stared at her, finally compromising. "All right, you bathe then." This woman, she knew that he hated people getting close to him, yet she still wanted to find someone to bathe him. They wanted to have him completely under their control. At this moment, he couldn't help but wonder if it was the right decision to come here before his cultivation technique recovered. Why did he feel like he had no sovereignty over her after his body shrunk? He couldn't even object. "That's a good boy." She pulled him over and rubbed his head, saying, "If you're obedient, I won't hit you." His face trembled and the corner of his mouth twitched. He glared at her before speechlessly looking away. Why do you seem to have grown taller?" Feng-Jie pulled him to his side and hugged him. Rubbing his head, he suddenly realized that in half a month, this little fellow seemed to have grown a lot taller. She pushed him a step forward and looked him over. After comparing him, she looked at him in surprise. "You really grew taller. You were originally like a 3 or 4-year-old child, but now you're as tall as a 5 or 6-year-old child. What did you eat these past few days? How did you grow so fast?" Hearing this, he looked down at himself and didn't say anything. Of course, it was because he had been cultivating for the past half a month. As long as he recovered the lost cultivation technique, he would naturally return to his original appearance. However, her words reminded him that if this continued, he would recover too quickly. She might not have thought in that direction once or twice, but it might not be the case after a long time. If he hadn't done so many embarrassing things in front of her in the past, it would have been fine if he told her. But now, how could he tell her? He was sure that once he opened his mouth, he would lose all of his dignity in the future. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this matter had to be kept a secret. No matter what, he could not let her know. Moreover, Looking at the situation, he was afraid that he would have to leave early. What are you thinking about? Let me ask you, what have you been eating recently? You didn't take any medicine, did you? While asking, she naturally reached out to feel his pulse, but she didn't find anything wrong with his body. She couldn't help but feel strange. It had only been half a month. How could he grow so fast? Cough. He coughed lightly and said with a straight face, I'm the same as my brother. I grew faster than others since I was young. There's nothing strange about it. Chapter 854. Upon hearing this, Fengjiu glanced at him and could not help but laugh. Someone like you can't be considered a man. You can only be considered a little boy. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw that his face darkened again. His entire little face became stiff, looking exactly like the Yama Lord. She could not help but reach out to rub his face. Little devil, aren't you afraid that you'll grow old too quickly if you keep a straight face all day long? However, she was secretly laughing in her heart. She did not dare to rub the Yama Lord's face, but would she not dare to rub this little devil's face? He was speechless as he took her hand away. Don't rub my face. Today is the Lantern Festival on the 15th day of the first lunar month. Let's go to the palace for a reunion dinner tonight, and then I'll take you to the Lantern Festival. What do you think? She asked with a smile as she looked at the somewhat arrogant little fellow in her arms. Okay, he responded, somewhat delighted. Hence, they went to the palace in the evening. At night, she was still in confinement, so they had a simple reunion dinner and played with the child in the palace for a while before leaving. On this night of the Lantern Festival, the city was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Some guessed lantern riddles, some set off fireworks, and joy could be seen everywhere. Looking at the various lanterns, his eyes moved slightly as he walked beside Fengjiu. He slowed down a few steps and came to a lantern. He looked at the lantern, and finally, his gaze fell on one of the lotus lanterns. He looked at the riddle below and then looked at the peddler. Take this down. Ha, little master, it's free to guess the riddle, but you'll have to pay if you don't. The peddler said with a smile as he took down the lotus lantern and held it in his hand. He asked, Little master, the riddle of this lotus lantern is, one side is red, the other side is green, one side is happy with the wind, and the other side is happy with the rain. Guess one word. Autumn. The son of the king of hell said as he reached out his small hand. Give it to me. The smile on the peddler's face froze. He turned back to check the riddle before passing the lotus lantern to him. He smiled and said, Little master, you're so smart. You got it right in one guess. The riddle is autumn. Not bad. This lotus lantern is yours. You like this? Fengjiu walked over with a lantern in his hand, but it was in the shape of a fish. I thought you would like this. She waved the lantern in her hand and handed it to him. He glanced at it and took it. At the same time, he handed over the lotus lantern in his hand. This is for you. For me? When she heard that, she smiled and narrowed her eyes. She was a little happy and a little surprised as she took it. Thanks. Seeing her happy smile, he slightly opened his eyes and tried hard to maintain a cold expression, but the corners of his lips couldn't help but curve up, revealing his happy mood. Which one do you want? I'll send you back. He held the fish-shaped flower lantern in one hand and raised his head slightly to look at her. As long as she liked it, he had the ability to get it for her. One is enough. Let's go. Let's go to the front to eat glutinous rice balls. She smiled and narrowed her eyes. She held the lotus lantern in one hand and held his hand with the other. The two of them went to the stall in front to eat glutinous rice balls. Then, they squeezed through the crowd to watch some performances on the street. Finally, they went to watch the fireworks. It was midnight when they returned to Feng Manor to rest. After bathing, the son of the king of hell, who was lying on the bed, looked at the woman standing by the window and looking at the distant night sky. He asked, What are you looking at? Chapter 855. Hearing this, the son of the king of hell on the bed blinked. It turned out that she would miss him too. She would stand by the window and look at the sky when he was not aware of it. Thinking of this, a warm current flowed through his heart, and his heart became unusually soft. At this moment, he really wanted to tell her that he was here. His cold poison has been cured. You don't have to worry. A childish voice came from behind. Feng Jiu turned to look at the little fellow on the bed. It's cured? How'd he solve it? That 1,000-year-old cold poison. If it was so easy to cure, the cold poison wouldn't have been lurking in his body for so long. Hearing this, he pursed his lips and glanced at her. Of course, I paid a hefty price, but it's cured. As he spoke, he paused for a moment and explained, You didn't ask me earlier, and I forgot to tell you. Feng Jiu came to the bedside and looked at him, who was covered with a blanket. Are you really his younger brother? Why didn't I hear him mention that he has a younger brother before? Hearing this, he pulled the blanket higher and yawned. I'm so sleepy, I'm going to sleep first. As he spoke, he closed his eyes and did not intend to answer. Seeing this, Feng Jiu shook his head and smiled. This little brat was very crafty. It was really hard to pry information out of him. She took off her outerwear and laid down in her underwear. She reached out and naturally held the child in her arms. With this hug, she felt that he was much bigger than half a month ago. She was puzzled. How did he grow so fast? The next morning, she brought the son of the king of hell to the Peach Blossom Cove. It had been half a month since she came back. She was so engrossed in refining that she almost forgot to ask the old man about the green lotus in her belly. Although she had advanced to the peak of the foundation establishment stage, she still took out a wisp of spiritual power to nourish the green lotus in her dantian. The most annoying thing was that after nourishing it for almost a year, it still looked the same. If this went on, she would doubt whether the green lotus would bloom. Or did it have other effects or uses? Unexpectedly, when she arrived at the Peach Blossom Cove, she searched inside and out, but did not find any trace of the elder. Thus, she summoned the family of ghost cultivators who were cultivating here and asked them about it. Only then did she find out that the elder had left not long after she left last year. Is he afraid that I'll come back to look for him? How could he just leave without saying a word? She stared at the ghost cultivators in front of her. She did not expect that she could not find him after she returned. Master, he only said that you don't have to look for him. He said that it's a good thing, and that it's only a gift to a fated person. Furthermore, it's harmless to you. As for the rest, you'll definitely know in the future. Hearing this, Feng Jiu frowned. Of course, she knew that the green lotus was harmless to her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have waited so long to come back and ask. However, she only knew a little about the green lotus in her dantian. Could it be that she was going to keep nourishing it with her spiritual power? What if more than 10 of them were still the same? Thinking of this, a few black lines appeared on her forehead. If she could take it out, she really wanted to. Unfortunately, the green lotus seemed to have taken root in her dantian. If she wanted to take it out, she would have to cut open her belly. Chapter 856. Master, we have made some progress in our cultivation and can now appear during the day. However, we can't maintain our form for too long. Elder Zhao spoke with unconcealable joy in his eyes. Since Master did not send anyone over to the Peach Blossom Cove, we have been guarding it ever since that senior left. Other than occasionally appearing during the day, we usually don't appear. Nothing has happened in the past year, and we didn't alarm the citizens. The old woman also spoke. A few months ago, the monarch brought Yang Yang back to visit us. Yang Yang has been taught well, and is even practicing martial arts with the Phoenix Guards. As the young man spoke, he glanced at his wife beside him and said to Feng Jiu, "This is all thanks to Master. We dare not forget your kindness. As long as Master has any orders, we will do it, even if we have to die 1,000 times." The young woman beside him also nodded. They were already very gratified that they could have such good fortune and that their child could receive such a good education. Hearing this, Feng Jiu nodded and said, "I came over this time to tell you that my grandmother gave birth to a son called Feng Yi. He is almost half a month old. I heard from my grandfather that they plan to let Yang Yang stay by my uncle's side in the future as a playmate and bodyguard." Hearing this, the four of them were overjoyed. They looked at each other and quickly thanked her. "Thank you, Master. We can't ask for anything more than for Yang Yang to stay by the little prince's side. Being able to let Yang Yang stay by the little prince's side, grow up together, learn together, and have a strong relationship in the future. It was not something an ordinary bodyguard could compare to. They were very grateful for such a good opportunity. I'll leave the Peach Blossom Cove to you guys. If there is anything you can't handle, find a Phoenix Guards to handle it. She instructed them and reminded them of a few things before returning to the Feng residence with the little Prince of Hell. In the following period of time, because there was no need to refine pills, she was idle. Other than the fixed time to cultivate every day, she spent the rest of her time with the little Prince of Hell. In the blink of an eye, another half a month passed. It was the day of her little Uncle Feng Ye's 1-month-old celebration. However, early in the morning, she washed up and put on a red dress. When she returned to the bedside, she saw the little fellow sitting on the bed with a distressed expression. She couldn't help but ask with a smile, "What's wrong?" "The clothes are too small." He picked up the clothes to show her. The sleeves were too small, and the bottom of the robe was also too short. "You've grown taller again?" She blinked in surprise. Tian didn't feel that he had grown taller, but when he compared himself with the clothes, the difference was obvious. The little fellow who was originally 5 or 6 years old now looked like a 6 or 7-year-old. It had only been a short month, but he had only grown taller than before. She couldn't help but worry. She had been living and eating with him for the past half a month, and she had not seen him eat anything. She really did not know how he grew so fast. Could it be that what he said was true? Were their genes really that powerful? He looked at her without saying a word. Another half a month had passed, and he had indeed grown a lot taller. Moreover, with the recovery of his cultivation technique, he recovered faster towards the end. He knew that it was time for him to leave. He could not stay any longer. Chapter 857. Therefore, she asked someone to change his clothes before bringing him to the palace. The banquet was held in the Imperial Garden. When they arrived at the palace, there were already many people there. Today, only some aristocratic families and friends were invited, as well as relatives from Sushi's side. The banquet was not very grand. It was just for everyone to gather and see the child. Feng Xiao greeted everyone in the Imperial Garden. Old Master Geng was still in the back of the palace. When Feng Jiu brought the son of King of Hell over, everyone stood up and bowed. "Greetings, Princess. Long time no see, Princess. You're becoming more and more beautiful. Little Feng, you're becoming more and more beautiful." "Ha ha." Seeing everyone greet her, she smiled and said, "Everyone, please take a seat." She found a seat and sat down. She chatted and laughed with everyone. "Ha ha, your grandfather is so lucky to have a son." In the blink of an eye, the child is 1 month old. Time flies. Old Master Geng sat beside Feng Jiu and said to her, "Yes, time flies. It feels like the day I went to propose marriage was just yesterday. I didn't expect the child to be born when I came back this time." She chuckled and poured a glass of wine for him. "Grandpa Geng, please drink first. I'll go over there to make a toast and have a chat." As she spoke, she got up and excused herself. Okay. Go ahead." Old Master Geng nodded. He smiled so much that his eyes narrowed into a line. Feng Jiu went over to her grandmother's brothers. Although her father was there to greet them, she still had to come over to chat and make a toast. As soon as she got close, she was pulled to talk to them. She drank glass after glass of wine and felt that the whole place was filled with a joyful atmosphere. "Little Feng, if you have time in the future, you must come to our place more often. If you go there, you can't just walk through the door," Lin Buoheng said with a smile. Looking at the beautiful girl in red, he only knew that this girl would be extraordinary in the future. Hearing this, she chuckled and said slyly, "Of course, if I go there, I'll definitely freeload at Grandpa Lin's house. At that time, Grandpa Lin won't find me troublesome and annoying." No, Grandpa Lin couldn't ask for more if you're willing to come." Lin Buoheng laughed and drank 2 more cups of wine with her while chatting. As everyone chatted, the palace maids served the dishes. Each dish was served to one person and was placed in front of everyone, looking exquisite and small. Then, the old man strode out with a 1-month-old Feng Yi in his arms. His voice could be heard even before he arrived. Ha ha! Thank you all for coming to my son's 1-month-old birthday party. When they heard this voice, everyone was stunned because the voice was very young. It was different from the old man's voice in the past. Therefore, they all stopped drinking and looked in the direction of the voice. When they saw who it was, they couldn't help but widen their eyes in astonishment. Their jaws almost fell to the ground. That tall and slender figure, with an imposing appearance, dressed in a dark golden luxurious robe, a jade belt tied around his waist, and a jade pendant with tassels as decoration, a handsome young man with jet black hair, was the Feng Sanyuan they were familiar with. Chapter 858. Sanyuan, you advanced again? Old Master Gung asked, a little dumbfounded. His face was exactly the same as when he was young. After the passage of time, there was a steadiness that young people did not have. I don't think so. You're still a martial emperor, but why do you look? Even Lin Buoheng looked at him in disbelief. His strength had not improved, so why suddenly a thought flashed through his mind. He could not help but look at Feng Jiao, who was smiling at him. That's right. How could he forget about her? She was the ghost doctor, so she naturally had the ability. That meant that Feng girl must have refined some medicine to restore Sun Yuan's youthful appearance. When he thought of this, he could not help but sigh in his heart. Why was such a good girl not part of his family? If only he had such a biological granddaughter. How great would that be? No. It's just that Feng girl brought me a New Year's gift. It's the face-establishing pill that the ghost doctor recently refined. Let me tell you, this face-establishing pill is, he proudly and complacently showed off to them, telling them how miraculous and precious this medicinal pill was, causing everyone to be extremely envious. Come. Let me hug my little nephew. As Lin Buoheng spoke, he took the child from Feng Sanyuan's arms. The 1-month-old child's skin was already pink and tender. Moreover, the child grew up on the ground. In addition, he was well fed. This white and chubby child was very likable. He looks like my little sister, Lin Buoheng said, his eyes full of love. When the others saw this, they looked at each other and smiled. They asked about the child's name and Su Shi's situation. Su Shi's brothers carried one after another, and almost all of them carried the child. Of course, the others only watched and did not carry the child. After all, they were not close relatives. Moreover, it was not easy to carry a 1-month-old child. The crowd only dispersed when they reached the depths of the palace. After arranging the accommodations for the Lin family, Feng Jiao went to her father's palace. Father, little uncle is already 1 month old. I want to leave tomorrow. So soon? When Feng Xiao heard this, he couldn't help but feel a little reluctant. His daughter had only been back for a month, and now she had to leave again. This time, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to see her again for another year. Hearing this, she smiled. I'm planning to attend a pill appraisal convention. I don't know how long it'll take, so I'll have to go earlier. As she spoke, she held his hand and whispered, Don't worry, I'll come back when I have time. She had originally planned to tell him about her mother, but after thinking about it, she decided not to. She didn't want him to worry about her. It would be better to give him a surprise when she brought her mother back in the future. As for her mother's family, she believed that as long as her status was promoted in the future, even the aristocrats of the first-class country would try their best to establish a relationship with her. At that time, she wouldn't be afraid that she wouldn't be able to enter the Shangwan family and see her mother. All right, then you must be careful when you're outside. Take Leng Shuang and Leng Hua with you. They are both loyal to you. Leng Shuang can help you take care of everything. Leng Hua is also very attentive. I can only be at ease with them by your side. Although he was reluctant to part with her, he knew that when a bird grew up, it had to fly away from its parents. As her father, he couldn't stop her. He could only hope that everything would go smoothly and safely outside. Chapter 859. By the time they returned to the Feng Manor, it was already late at night. After bathing, Feng Jiu dried his hair while saying, "We'll leave tomorrow. We're going to the country of E to participate in the pill appraisal convention on the 3rd of March. That's right. The clothes I had someone make for you will be sent over tomorrow morning." After saying this for a while, she did not hear the little guy reply, so she glanced over and saw him sitting cross-legged on the bed looking at her. She said, "What is it?" This little guy had not said much ever since he came back today. Was he unhappy? "I'm going to leave." He looked at her as he spoke. Hearing this, she was stunned for a moment before reacting. "You're going to leave? Who are you going with? Is someone coming to pick you up?" "They'll be here at midnight." He looked at her. His mouth moved as if he wanted to say something, but he did not say it. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" She walked over to the bed and asked, "Hui Lang is coming to pick you up? Is it safe to go back now? What caused trouble for him? If he can't take care of you, you should follow me. It's fine to go back after a while. Rin Xiang is coming to pick me up." As he spoke, he shook his head. "No, I have to go." Hearing this, she looked deeply at him and said, "Then I'll have someone send the clothes over right now." As she spoke, she walked outside and told the Lung Shuang before walking back in. "You're going to leave. Do you want me to prepare something for you? Food? For use? Or for fun?" she asked. She felt a bit reluctant. Although this little brat was arrogant and awkward, after being together for a while, he suddenly said that he was going to leave. She really did not want to part with him. "No need. Just sit with me for a bit," he said. Hearing this, her heart skipped a beat. She sat down on the edge of the bed and crossed her legs like him. She thought that growing up in a place like the Empire was probably very stressful for a child. They were different from normal children. Thus, she sat with him and chatted with him from time to time until midnight arrived. Hearing a sound from outside, the two people in a room could not help but look at each other. "I'm going to leave," he said. "I'll send you off." She stood up and put on a coat to send him off. Who knew that he would see her out with a coat on? So he grabbed her hand. "What happened?" She turned around and asked. The little fellow stood up from the bed and stared at her coat. "Put on your clothes before you go out." Hearing these old-fashioned and domineering words, Feng Jiu couldn't help but laugh. She took off her coat and put it on. Just as she was about to tie the belt, she saw a pair of small hands take over her work and tie the belt for her waist seriously and attentively. Seeing this, a trace of gentleness flashed through her heart. She thought that if she had children in the future, she would be just as considerate. "All right." He looked up at her and said seriously, "Don't fool around." Feng Jiu was slightly stunned and then laughed out loud. He tapped his nose lightly and said, "Little devil, I'm serious." He frowned. "Don't fool around. Pay more attention to your own safety outside. If you encounter someone you can't beat, run." I know. She shook her head and couldn't help but laugh. She bent down and was about to pick him up when she saw him get off the bed and put on his boots. He said, "I'll walk by myself. You don't have to send me off." Chapter 860. In the end, it was Feng Jiu who sent him out. In the courtyard outside, Rin Xiang and a few men in black were already standing there waiting. The door opened, and the two people inside walked out. Rin Xiang couldn't help but want to laugh when he saw the big and small figures. However, he knew that he couldn't expose his master's secret, so he secretly pinched himself and suppressed the smile that was about to appear on his lips. "Ninth young master." Rin Xiang nodded slightly in greeting. "Are you the one sending him back?" Feng Jiu looked at him and raised his eyebrows. "No, I'm only sending him to a place, and someone will meet him there." He added, "Don't worry, I'll arrange for someone to protect him. There won't be any problems." Hearing this, Feng Jiu nodded and said to the son of the king of hell, "Go. Be careful on the road." Seeing that they didn't even have a sedan, she took out a cloak from her space and tied it around him. "It's windy at night. Don't catch a cold." He glanced at her, then walked towards Rin Xiang and turned back. "You can go in." "Okay." She smiled and looked at him deeply. After instructing Rin Xiang to take care of him, she turned and entered the room. The few people outside the courtyard saw that she had returned to her room. Then they left on their swords and quietly disappeared into the night. Feng Jiu watched their figures disappear into the night from the window. When he couldn't find any trace of them, he took off his coat and laid down on the bed. However, he didn't sleep that night. The next morning, without giving her father and grandfather a chance to send her off, she left quietly with Lung Shuang, Lung Hua, and Tun Yun and headed to country. A month later, in E-Country. E-Country was a 5th-class country with a status above 6th class. Just the journey to E-Country alone took her a whole month. Of course, there were some sightseeing along the way. The border of a 5th-class country was national defense, and people below that level were not allowed to enter unless they had proof of identity. Fengjiu was a medicine saint and could even go to a 3rd-class country, not to mention a 5th-class country. This was also the reason why she rejected Mo Chun. If she could come by herself, why would she come with him? However, would Mo Chun be here as well? She had heard that his pill refining skills were not low. If he were to participate as well, it would not be easy for her to get first place. However, after thinking about it, he felt that he should have confidence in her 5-elemental pill. After all, such a heaven-defying pill. Even if it wasn't a 5th-tier spiritual medicine, it definitely wasn't something an ordinary pill could compare to. Moreover, its value was something that even a 5th-tier spiritual medicine might not be able to compare to. This is the imperial city of the E-Country. Standing outside the city gate, Fengjiu looked at the bustling scene inside the city and sighed. Sure enough, different levels have different prosperity. A 5th-class country is 1 level higher than a 6th-class country. Master, let's find a place to stay after entering the city. Then we can walk around and ask for information, Lung Hua said. He was very excited about coming here. Let's go. Line up to enter the city. She gestured and joined them in the line, waiting to pay the entrance fee and enter the city. Chapter 861. Fengjiu and the others had not come here because of her identity as a medicine saint, but because they had obtained 3 passes from the black market. Even so, they still had a hand over money if they belonged to another country. There were about 20 people in front of them in the queue. Fengjiu stood in the middle, with Lung Hua in front and Lung Shuang behind her. Little Tun Yun followed by her feet. The 3 of them were all extremely beautiful. As soon as they appeared, they attracted the attention of many people. In particular, the one standing behind Lung Shuang was a male cultivator. When he saw the black-clothed woman in front of him with her curvaceous figure and stunning profile, he could not help but stare at her with a lustful gaze. Using the jostling of the people behind him, he bumped into Lung Shuang in front of him. When a man bumped into him from behind, Lung Shuang turned around with a cold expression. My apologies, my apologies. I bumped into you from behind, the male cultivator said apologetically. The male cultivator said apologetically, but his eyes were still fixed on her stunning face. When Lung Shuang saw this, he looked away and ignored him. He was lining up to enter the city, so he did not want to cause trouble here. When a man saw this, his gaze shifted. When he saw that she did not say anything and only glanced at him warningly with a cold, beautiful face, he could not help but feel an itch in his heart. He wanted to lust for her again. This time, he planned to take the opportunity to grope her. However, as soon as he had that thought, he heard a lazy voice. It shocked him so much that he stopped and suppressed his lust. Did you chop off the hands of that blind pervert who took advantage of you last time? Or did you cripple his manhood? Fengjiu turned around and asked Lung Shuang. However, his smiling eyes were fixed on the man behind Lung Shuang. I chopped off his hands, crippled his manhood, and even dug out his eyeballs, Lung Shuang said coldly. His voice was neither loud nor soft, but it was heard by the people around them. For a moment, everyone's gaze fell on them. Some even glanced at the pale-faced male cultivator as if they were watching a good show. They sneered, knowing that the man had kicked aboard. The 3 of them had different temperaments. The red-clothed youth in the middle was young, but he had an unparalleled elegance. He was so dazzling that people couldn't take their eyes off him. Then, they looked at the man and woman behind him. The man's aura was as gentle as water, but it was not something an ordinary guard could possess. The woman in black was filled with killing intent. and the man recklessly tried to take advantage of her, too. Hearing their words and seeing the gazes of the surrounding people, the man's scalp went numb. He couldn't help but take 2 steps back, tactfully keeping a distance from the black-clothed woman in front of him. He didn't dare to look at her, but lowered his head to look at the ground. Next time, if you meet someone who doesn't have eyes, I'll skin him alive. Anyway, that kind of person is shameless. Feng Jiu said these bloodthirsty and cruel words in a serious manner. These words were terrifying to the ears of the cultivators, but to the ears of the commoners, the effect was even more different. Some of the commoners who heard them looked at them in horror and distanced themselves from them. Chapter 862. Unexpectedly, his smile sent chills down everyone's spines. Their expressions changed, and none of them dared to look at him again. She raised her brows and looked at Lung Hua, who was smiling warmly in front of her. She asked, "Do I look that scary? Or have I turned ugly from running all over the place under the sun recently? Why are they all looking at me like I'm a ghost?" Master's magnificence is unparalleled in this world. They've been refracted by Master's dazzling brilliance, so they don't dare to look at Master. Hearing this, Feng Jiu laughed heartily. "You're getting better at talking." "Not bad, not bad." She nodded and smiled in satisfaction. Hearing their conversation, even the city guards at the front noticed the 3 of them and couldn't help but smile. When the 3 of them reached the front, the captain of the city guards asked with a smile, "Sir, you're also here to watch the pill appraisal convention, aren't you?" "That's right." Feng Jiu nodded and asked with a smile, "This is my first time in your country's imperial city. Captain, do you have any good places to stay?" Perhaps it was because of her extraordinary noble aura that made it obvious that she came from an extraordinary background, but the captain of the city guards kindly began to talk about some of the better inns and places in the city. "Sir, you can go to the first and see if there are any empty rooms. That's the largest and best inn in the imperial city. However, because of the pill appraisal convention, many people from other countries have come to the city. If you're late, you probably won't be able to find a room. However, if you're really out of rooms, you can stay in the inns in the west of the city. Most of the inns in that area have a good view of the scenery west of the lake, so it's not bad." Hearing this, Feng Jiu nodded with a smile and looked at Lung Hua. "Didn't we buy some wine on the way here? Give his captain a jar." "Yes." Lung Hua responded and took out a jar of wine from his chinkoan pouch and handed it to the captain. "Big brother, please accept it." The captain was flattered and quickly waved his hand. "No, no, I'm only moving my lips. How could I receive such a good jar of wine from sir?" "It doesn't matter. My master said that he would treat Big Brother to a drink, so Big Brother should just accept it." He stuffed the jug of wine into his arms and followed his master's footsteps, leaving together. Seeing this, the captain felt a burst of joy and gratitude. As city gate guards, some of the young masters of aristocratic families or powerful cultivators had never treated them well. He didn't expect that just by exchanging a few words with this red-clothed young master, he would give him a jar of good wine. He held the wine in his arms. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, he retreated to the side. He opened the bottle and took a sniff. A rich wine aroma filled the air. Just by smelling this wine, one could tell that it was extraordinary. Perhaps it was because of Feng Jiu's generosity, but after one of the cultivators entered the city, he quickened his pace and caught up with the people in front of him. "Young master, please wait." The cultivator shouted while running towards Feng Jiu. In front of him, Feng Jiu stopped and turned around. His gaze swept past the cultivator, and he asked, "Is there something you need?" The cultivator smiled embarrassedly and said somewhat embarrassedly, "Young master, I also came from another country. It's just that it's a long journey, and I've almost used up all my traveling expenses. I was wondering if young master could lend me some money." Hearing this, Feng Jiu was slightly stunned. He asked, "What did you say? Did she mishear?" "This? I want to borrow some money from young master." Chapter 863. However, in the next moment, The slightly embarrassed cultivator took out a ginseng from his chinquin pouch. Young master, this is an old ginseng. It's a purebred wild ginseng. Just look at the texture, the pattern, and the smell of the ginseng. You can tell it's good stuff. If young master doesn't want to lend it to me, it's fine. I'll sell it to young master. This kind of good stuff can't be bought even with 10,000 silver coins. Since young master and I are fated to meet, I'll sell it to young master for 5,000. Fengjiu glanced at the ginseng and said with a faint smile, "No need. I don't need this. If you have this, you can sell it for money. How could you lack money? Isn't it because young master is generous and doesn't lack money? Moreover, I don't want to go through too much trouble," he said with a bashful smile. "Is that so?" Mo Tiange stroked her chin and asked, "This one is too little. Do you have more? Or do you have something else?" Upon hearing this, the cultivator's eyes lit up. Yes. I still have a lot. How about we find a place to sit down and talk? Sitting down and talking is too time-consuming. How about this? There aren't many people in the alley ahead. Let's go there and talk. Mo Tiange looked at the alley ahead and gestured. Sure. Young master, please. The cultivator hurriedly made an inviting gesture and walked towards the alley with Mo Tiange. Fengjiu walked into the alley with Leng Shuang and Leng Hua following behind her. The siblings didn't know what she was planning. They glanced at each other and quietly followed her. When they arrived at the alley, the cultivator took out 20 or so precious medicinal ingredients from his chinquin pouch. Among them, there were several old ginseng. He placed them on the ground and looked at Fengjiu. Young master, take a look. Tell me which one you like. I'll give you the cheapest price. You even have this. Fengjiu squatted on the ground and picked up one of the medicinal ingredients with a smile. She put it down and picked up another one to take a look. Finally, after examining each medicinal ingredient, she asked with a smile, "How much do you plan to pay to keep my mouth shut?" Hearing this, the cultivator was stunned. He asked, "What? Selling fake medicine is a serious crime? You got guts." She cast a sidelong glance at the cultivator. "Speak. How much hush money? If there aren't any benefits, he." Hearing this, the male cultivator was startled and knew that he had met an expert. He immediately put away the four corners of the cloth on the ground, rolled up the items, and wanted to leave. "What fake medicine? It's fine if you don't want to buy it, but you don't have to slander me like this." However, just as he was about to run, he was blocked by the man and woman. He couldn't help but turn around and glare at the red-clothed youth. "What are you trying to do? Hush money." Her eyes flashed as she said with a smile, "I don't have any money. Do I look like someone who lacks money?" She glanced at him with disdain. "Then what kind of hush money do you want?" He asked with a frown. "Your fake medicine looks quite real. How did you do it? Teach me." As soon as she said this, the male cultivator's eyes widened in disbelief, and he glared at her. "You don't even think about it." Hearing this, she raised her eyebrows. "So you're saying that you want me to report you for selling fake medicine? At that time, not only will the imperial family punish you, even the pharmacist guild won't let you off easily." Chapter 864. You don't look like you lack money. Why do you want to learn how to make fake medicine? He asked in confusion. "You only need to teach me. You don't need to know." But making fake medicine is very complicated. It's not something that can be explained in a few sentences. He bitterly said, "And I don't have the time to teach you." Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and said, "You only need to make it once for me to see." Seeing that he couldn't get rid of her, the male cultivator couldn't help but sigh. He resigned himself to his fate and took out a medicinal ingredient from his bag as he said, "Then you've seen it. I'll only make it once. Whether you can learn it or not is your business. You can't continue to hold on to me." He paused and said, "This fake medicine is still medicine. It won't kill you. It's just that the medicinal effects are a little different. Look at this old ginseng. It's made from white radish. Let's do this first." Because he had all kinds of things in his chinquin bag, it was convenient to make it. He explained to Fengjiu while he made it. In less than an hour, an old ginseng was ready. To make it more realistic, you can put some mud on it. As for the other medicinal ingredients, you have to choose similar ones. This way, It'll be more convenient to make it. I know about the old ginseng. What about the others? She asked as she took the fake old ginseng and looked at it. She didn't know much about medicine and was easily fooled. She had seen many fakes before, but this person made it the most realistic. If she learned this skill, she might be able to use it one day. Hearing this, the person hugged the bag of fake medicine and quickly retreated. He stared at Feng Jiu warily and said, "You just said that you only need to make it once." "Yes." She nodded and smiled like a fox. "But I understand the old ginseng, but I don't understand the others. Also, you should have a prescription for this, right? You can forget about taking my prescription." As soon as he said that, he saw the young man and red appear in front of him in an instant. "But you came to provoke me. You want to send me away with this? How can it be so simple?" Looking at the young man's strange smile, his scalp tingled and he regretted it. If he knew that this young man was so difficult to deal with, he wouldn't have approached him. "You took it yourself? Or should I do it myself?" Feng Jiu asked without any sense of shame. She had always treated people the same way they treated her. Since he dared to use fake medicine to fool her and have designs on her, she naturally had to make him pay. "Fine, you win." He gritted his teeth and handed the handwriting to him. Feng Jiu took a look at it and nodded, "Yes, not bad. The records are even clearer than what you said. All right, don't say that I'm taking advantage of you." Lung Hua, give him 100 silver coins and consider it as me buying his skills. "Yes." Lung Hua replied and took out 100 silver coins to give to the man. That person's mouth twitched. 100 silver coins? That was his ability to make a living. It was only worth 100 silver coins? Gritting his teeth, he took it. It would be a waste if he didn't take it. Although it was a small amount, it was better than nothing. The male cultivator who took the silver coins put it away and quickly disappeared without a trace, as if he was afraid that Feng Jiu would take something from him on a whim. "Master, this fake medicine can't be used. What's the point of learning it?" Lung Hua asked in confusion. Chapter 865. The number one inn in the Imperial City, other than being more luxurious than the other inns, the price was naturally not affordable for the average person. It could be said that the people who stayed in this inn were either rich or respectable. "Innkeeper, give me 3 rooms." Feng Jiu walked in and said to the counter, "Hee, I'm sorry, young master. The rooms are full. Please look elsewhere." The innkeeper said apologetically, "So it's like that. All right then. There's nothing I can do about it." She shrugged and did not mind. Just as she was about to leave with Lung Shuang and Lung Hua, she heard a voice. "Red-robed young master, please wait." A middle-aged man walked down from the 2nd floor and called out to Feng Jiu. Feng Jiu turned around and looked at the middle-aged man. He asked, "You called me?" "Yes." The man nodded and looked at Feng Jiu for a while. He smiled and asked, "May I ask if young master's surname is Feng? Your given name is Jiu?" Hearing this, she raised her eyebrows and replied, "Yes." That's right." The middle-aged man smiled and introduced himself. "I'm the head innkeeper of this number 1 inn. Someone has already booked a room for young master a month ago." "Oh, who booked it for me? Who knew she was coming here? And even booked an inn?" "I don't know. He only sent someone to tell young master's appearance and name. At the same time, he booked 2 sky rooms for young master." The middle-aged man smiled and looked at the innkeeper who was standing behind the counter in a daze. His face darkened. "What are you doing? Didn't you say that the 2 sky rooms belonged to a red-robed young master? Why are you pushing away a guest?" The innkeeper was stunned by the scolding. After a while, he came back to his senses and quickly said, "Head innkeeper, I already received a red-robed young master. I asked him if his surname was Feng and his given name was Jiu. He said yes, then I personally brought him upstairs, so he did not know that there were 2 people called Feng Jiu. A month ago, someone had booked 2 sky rooms for a man called Feng Jiu and told him his features. He said that he was a 16 or 17-year-old young man with a handsome face and liked to wear red. The innkeeper thought it was the man from before and brought him upstairs." "What? You receive a guest?" The head innkeeper was also stunned. He looked at Feng Jiu and hesitated and asked, "Young master, Feng Jiu is called young master?" Hearing the words of the two, Fengjiu also knew what was going on, so she nodded. Her name is Fengjiu, but I don't know who booked the room for me. Could it be that someone booked the wrong room? She didn't know anyone here, so who would know that she was coming? Moreover, what made her curious was who directly admitted that it was Feng Nine who stayed in the inn, and the other party was wearing red robes like her. This made her involuntarily recall the matter of the fake ghost doctor. However, in this place, no one knew her identity. It was probably just a coincidence. The head innkeeper hesitated and looked at the innkeeper. Go upstairs and ask that guest to come down and ask him. Mistaking a guest is not a small matter. Don't offend people. Yes, yes. The innkeeper replied and wiped his cold sweat. He quickly went upstairs to invite the Skyroom guest. Chapter 866. Hearing this, everyone's expressions changed. The head shopkeeper's expression didn't look too good either. What was the meaning of this? If the red-clothed young man in front of them was Fengjiu, then the one upstairs must be an imposter. But that person wasn't coming down. If the one called Fengjiu left and the one upstairs stayed, if the person who booked the room found out about this, then the responsibility would fall on them. For a moment, he was in a dilemma. Just as he was about to go upstairs himself, he heard the red-clothed young man's voice. You're the head shopkeeper, right? Fengjiu looked at the middle-aged man and revealed a smile. Yes, yes, young master. You see, I'm really sorry. I'll go upstairs and take a look. He said apologetically and cupped his hands. Fengjiu smiled and said, It's fine. I didn't book this room anyway. Also, I don't know who booked it. That person didn't leave a name or anything, and I don't want to owe them a favor. Since someone is staying here, then forget it. We'll find another inn to stay in. But if the person who booked the room can't find young master, the head shopkeeper was a bit hesitant. Although he knew that it was good for them to back down, he was afraid that the person who booked the room would be angry. It's fine. Let's leave it at that. She waved her hand and turned to leave. But at this time, something flew towards Lung Hua from the second floor. Lung Hua couldn't help but take a few steps back as he was hit by the hidden force of the heavy object. He let out a muffled groan, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Lung Shuang quickly stepped forward to support him. His cold gaze shot toward the second floor. Fengjiu had already turned around and was about to take a step forward. However, when she heard movement behind her, she stopped and turned around. When she saw Lung Hua holding a small bag and blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, she frowned. A trace of coldness flashed through her eyes as she looked towards the second floor. My master said he wouldn't take advantage of you. Here are 500 gold coins. Take it and find somewhere else to live. On the second floor, a black-clothed woman raised her chin slightly and looked down at Fengjiu's trio with disdain. Seeing this scene, the two shopkeepers at the side frowned. They were also cultivators, so they could naturally see that the red-clothed young master downstairs, Fengjiu, did not have much cultivation. The man and woman beside him had even lower cultivation. One was only a martial grandmaster, while the other was only a beginner martial practitioner. However, the black-clothed woman standing on the second floor was only a follower, but her strength was already at the level of a great spirit master. Even if the three people downstairs were added together, they might not necessarily be her opponent. Knowing that they weren't a match for the woman upstairs, the head shopkeeper was just thinking about how to resolve the situation when he saw the red-robed young man slowly walk forward. Fengjiu came to Lung Hua's side and took the bag from him. He weighed it in his hand and looked at the woman in black on the second floor. His lips curled into a smile. 500 gold coins? Isn't that too little? Hearing this, the two shopkeepers were stunned. The woman in black on the second floor was even more disdainful. Chapter 867. Anyone who entered the number one and would not lack money. This red-robed young man had an extraordinary air about him. With one look, one could tell that he came from a good background. Perhaps he was the son of an aristocratic family, the prince of a small country, or perhaps he was a member of some sect. People like him were usually fighting for their dignity and not for money. Therefore, when they saw that the red-robed young man was complaining that the gold coins in his hand were too little, everyone had different expressions on their faces. They felt that they could not see through him and could not see who he was. The woman in black on the second floor scoffed and turned to leave. Not long after, she came back out again. This time, she was holding a bag that was even bigger than before and threw it at the red-robed young man. My master said that since you think it's too little, I'll give you another 1,000 gold coins. Take the gold coins and get out of here. The woman in black's words were not polite at all. Her contemptuous expression carried a sense of superiority. With a flip of her hand, she threw the bag at Fengjiu. The bag was filled with hidden energy, and it contained 1,000 gold coins. It was aimed at Fengjiu's heart, as if she wanted to use the weight of the gold coins to teach her a lesson. Most of the guests upstairs were from aristocratic families or great powers. Therefore, when they saw the bag of 1,000 gold coins flying out, they could see the hidden force behind the attack. However, no one made a move, no one helped, and no one stopped it. This kind of thing was too common. In a world where the strong ruled, the weak had to bow their heads and adapt if they wanted to survive. No one could help anyone. However, the red-robed young man's next move made some people's eyes flash with astonishment. They saw him reach out and catch the bag lightly. He then turned his hand inward to release the force and steadily caught the 1,000 gold coins. Those who knew the ropes could see that it was not easy to reach out to catch the bag and release the force. However, the young man had done it easily. It was obvious that he had some skills. Fengjiu took out a gold coin and held it between her index and middle finger. She raised her eyes to look at the woman in black. Her lips curled and a strange light flashed across her eyes. This is your reward. Take it to buy medicine. As soon as her voice fell, the gold coin between her fingers flew towards the woman in black. It was so fast and powerful that the woman in black was unable to dodge it, nor was she able to dodge or block it. Yes, the woman let out a muffled groan. The gold coin hit her lower left abdomen, but it didn't penetrate her flesh and take her life. It only hit her body. The power contained in the gold coin hit the woman in black, and the gold coin fell to the ground with a clang. How dare you? The black-clothed woman shouted as she stared coldly at the red-clothed Fengjiu. Although she grunted after being hit, she did not even take a step back. She did not bleed, nor was she injured. It was as if she had been hit by a rock. In her eyes, it was not a big deal. All right. Miss upstairs, don't be angry. Everyone should take a step back. Let's turn big things into small things, and small things into nothing. The shopkeeper was worried that they would fight, and quickly came out to smooth things over. Fengjiu glanced at the people upstairs and curled her lips. She said to Lung Shuang and Lung Hua, "Let's go." Yes, the two replied and left with her. Chapter 868. After leaving the first inn, Fengjiu brought Lung Shuang and Lung Hua to the west side of the city and checked into an inn there. After entering the room, she gestured to Lung Hua. "Lung Hua, sit down. I'll take a look at you." "Master, I'm fine. It's just a minor injury." He could only blame himself for not being strong enough to be injured. "Sit down." As she spoke, she sat down at the table and reached out to check his pulse. After a while, she withdrew her hand and said, "It's not very serious. Take some healing medicine and you'll be fine tomorrow." "Okay," he responded, revealing a happy smile. "Lung Shuang, go downstairs and ask the waiter to bring up some food and wine. We haven't eaten yet. It's almost noon." Hearing his master's words, Lung Shuang nodded. "Yes." Then he turned and walked out. "Master, we've earned 1,500 gold coins for nothing." Lung Hua smiled happily. It seemed that the person who lived in the sky room had a high status. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given out gold coins so easily. Yes, it's a waste not to take it. Although 1,500 gold coins isn't a lot, you could buy a lot of things with it. She said with a smile, took out the 2 bags of gold coins, and pushed the big bag of gold coins in front of him. "Take this. Buy whatever you want. If you follow me, you don't have to worry about not having enough money to spend." Hearing this, Lung Hua didn't refuse. He immediately took it and said happily, "Thank you, master." Not long after, Lung Shuang returned. As soon as he entered the room, Feng Jiu handed him the bag of gold coins on the table. "This bag is for you." Hearing this, Lung Shuang said, "Master, I rarely use money. I don't need this much. Keep it, only when you need it. Sister, just take it. Master just gave me the big bag of gold coins. I'll take it all." Lung Hua said with a smile, patting the bag of gold coins in front of him. Seeing this, Lung Shuang nodded and took the gold coins. At the same time, he thanked. "Thank you, master." Lung Hua also put the gold coins into his cosmos sack. After a while, the waiter knocked on the door and brought in the food. The three of them ate and chatted in the room. "Master, did you use a secret technique again?" Lung Hua bit into a piece of meat and asked with bright eyes. Hearing this, Feng Jiu laughed. "Again, you can tell?" "I couldn't tell, but I guessed," he said with a smile after swallowing the meat. With his master's personality, how could he not be protective? Moreover, he had thrown out a gold coin to buy medicine for that woman. It was definitely not simple. Feng Jiu nodded and praised with a smile. "And not bad, not bad. Lung Hua, you are indeed very careful and smart. You can guess that I played a trick when I casually threw out a gold coin. However, even if you know, those people don't. That woman won't be able to get out of bed tomorrow." She laughed mischievously. "I knew it." He proudly raised his head and smiled. Lung Shuang helped Feng Jiu pour wine. She, who was always quiet, quietly listened to them talk. There was a trace of gentleness in her eyes. Only when she was with the two of them would she show that kind of gentleness. Most of the time, she was as cold as an ice beauty and was full of killing intent. It made people shudder. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.